Morning, all. Still feeling lousy?
What?
Still feeling lousy?
It's funny. I know I'm very close because it's largely broken up and it's basically only right here now. And so my guess is probably by this afternoon, I'll be fine. Basically fine. Get a really good night's sleep tonight. It's been really hard to sleep, though. Can't use the machine. And so that's a problem. Well, it's a good thing teams could start talking to one another at noon yesterday.
Right.
For the first time. Now maybe they'll have time to make some deals. How do you want to do? How the heck are you?
I can do it for you.
All right. Oof. Ambien, Wancho, Adam, morning. What's up? How the heck are you? All that good stuff. My body hurts. You know, like I've got the body aches. I've just been.
That's right. Can't be winning or hope. They're giving you hope.
I didn't realize the Broncos had that much money under the cap. Not sure they did. Denver was a little drunken sailorish yesterday, but
here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this Tuesday. The tournament gets underway tonight, kind of. Free agency's already underway, even though it really isn't supposed to be. I need a pinch hitter. We're going to the bullpen early. I need an opener.
How the heck are you?
Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us.
Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play.
Yep. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe. We'll see. I'm getting there, though. I'm over the hump. I can tell you that. I'm over the hump. I have a feeling tomorrow I will feel better than I sound. You know what I mean?
You don't get sick either.
No.
I mean, one thing you and I, knock on wood, are pretty lucky about in doing what we do for a living, we've been pretty good about not getting sick.
Knock on wood, I didn't get COVID, which, I find to be remarkable because I was on about 250 flights and, didn't get it. But yeah, I don't get the flu. I don't get sick. You know why, Mark? It's all the fine dining and exercise.
Well, that's usually what it is for people like us. It's the way we take care of ourselves, David. That's what it's all about. You with the healthy eating and all the exercise, and me with staying off the alcohol.
Right. I mean, it's all the fruits and vegetables. It's all the greens, for me, and for you, I will say something I've always admired about you. When in doubt, all right, you make your alcohol of choice darker. Like if you may start off with beer and wine during the week, if by the end of the week you're like, I think we need to go top shelf here. I think we need to go a little whiskey. We need to go a little bourbon. Okay. My alcohol, I can see through it too easily.
And that's a problem. So
right. By Friday, we need paint thinner is what we need. I mean, preferably something that tastes a little better than Jim Beam, but I'm kind of venturing, down that road. So Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Mark, man, thank goodness that they allowed for some legal tampering beginning at noon yesterday, because now some players and teams may have enough time to negotiate some deals by the time that the new year starts at 3:00 tomorrow afternoon.
Legal tampering began at noon, and 5 players were signed by 12:05.
Yeah, wait, what? The Miller and Moulton negotiating method? They did it on a bar napkin? They met at a neighborhood bar? What? How'd this go? Man, can they get this whole Zoom thing, ever since the pandemic, unless they can do contracts and complex ones at that, guaranteed years, guaranteed money, void years, dummy money, all that stuff. I mean, 5 minutes, 8 tops, man, because they weren't talking before noon yesterday.
No, not at all. They weren't allowed to, of course, David, so they wouldn't talk. I mean, that
Right.
would be illegal tampering, apparently.
Right. I mean, how hysterical is it that the Jets asked for permission to meet with Aaron Rodgers? The whole rest of the league didn't ask for permission for anything. All right. And 412 contracts got done yesterday. And what's the one we're still waiting on? Aaron Rodgers. It's another thing. It's a good thing he's not making the Packers wait. Because remember, shortly after the season, he said, well, I'm not going to make them wait. I mean, the new year starts in mid-March, and that would be rude, to make them wait. So, that's the one thing I'm not going to do. And then when he did the 2, 3, 4 days of darkness, whatever it was, I mean, that was damn near a month ago. And I mean, once you do the 2, 3, 4 days of darkness, I mean, that's where decisions are made, Mark.
I happened to laugh. I was listening to some national radio over the weekend, one of the morning shows. I think it was on the 4-letter network. In fact, I know it was because they had Lenardi on, and they asked him, what's his man cave like? Is it, bright and airy, or is it more like Rodgers' darkness? And he said, it's more like Rodgers. In fact, yesterday when I spun around, Aaron was there. I asked him who his last 4 in were and last 4 out were, which I thought was,
nice,
pretty quick on Lenardi's part. But
well done.
Yeah, he's just turned into, I was actually with a Packers fan yesterday, and this Packers fan is well aware that they are not going to be any good without Aaron Rodgers. And they are completely comfortable with getting rid of Aaron Rodgers. And
well, that's what they say. No. I agree that they're comfortable getting rid of him. I do. All right. They haven't been bad for 30 years.
They don't remember what it was like before Favre and Rodgers when they were bad.
In fact, what we should do, all of us, we should welcome the Green Bay Packers back to the NFL, because the league they've been in for the last 30 years is basically a fantasy league. Now they're back in the National Football League. Welcome to the NFL, the Green Bay Packers. And if you're curious as to how it could go, I'd like you to look at the last 3 years in New England. I'm just saying, which haven't been awful. I mean, a 7-win season, a 10-win season, an 8-win season. Made the playoffs one of those years. Would have made the playoffs the second of those years if they had won the final game of the year last year. They would have gotten in. So they haven't been awful. All right. But the whole Titletown thing, yeah, you can retire that. All right. You can put that on the shelf. You can watch your NFL film stuff about that. Here's my question, and I don't know if Rodgers cares about this stuff. I think he does because I think he's shallow and he cares about it all. But even though it ended messy between Favre and the Packers, especially when he ended up a year later in Minnesota, I mean, that bothered him. I mean, it only could have been worse if he went to the Bears. But, I mean, that really bothered him. And then, of course, he beat him twice that year and played great both times. So, and that bothered him. It did. But pretty shortly after that, they kissed and made up. I mean, they loved each other, both sides. And he's a legend. He's beloved. When do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to be beloved in Green Bay again?
Beloved?
Well, I mean, for goodness sakes, he's a Hall of Fame quarterback.
No, I understand that.
I mean,
But
he's
the way this
arguably
is
the best
ending-
quarterback they've ever had, which is saying something because they got two other Hall of Famers.
I got you. And yet, there's never been a time when I felt that Aaron Rodgers was beloved the way that Favre was, certainly not the way that Starr was, and leaving the way that he is. I don't know if this divorce ever ends up with a kiss and makeup. Could be friendly, could be cordial. You know, sometimes there are divorced couples who, when they see their ex, because there's kids involved, they can be very cordial. They can talk. They can act like they get along, but they really don't. And that's what I see Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay following this.
Like, you still see a decent number of Favre jerseys if you go to a Packers game at Lambeau. You can see Favre jerseys, which, when you think about it, he hasn't played for them since 2007. And since he stopped playing for them, they've had a Hall of Fame quarterback. But when do you think it is? And what kind of applause? Like, eventually, when Favre and the Packers made up, it was a rousing ovation. As big an ovation as Lambeau can muster. Are we talking like 25-foot birdie putt on the back nine at a major? I mean,
not at a major. I just was going to stop you right there. It could be, you know, it's
the Valspar.
I was thinking maybe Torrey, given a little better than that. I was saying Torrey Pines. You know, certainly not 16 at Phoenix.
I mean, just whenever this kiss and makeup date is going to be.
It's a back nine birdie at a non-elevated event.
It's Chris Kirk at the Honda. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Good tournament.
Yep.
People that were there enjoyed it.
Yep.
But no one put the phone out to start taking photos of the thing, if you know what I mean.
So that's just what I'm curious about. And also, how long is it going to take? Let's assume he plays. You know, Favre played 3 more years after he left Green Bay. 1 with the Jets, 2 in Minnesota. And so let's assume Rodgers is going to play 2 to 3 years. So then he's done, say, worst case scenario, after the 25 season. Okay. So then, you know, people are going to start asking Green Bay, so when are you going to retire his number? When are you going to invite him back? Now, remember, Rodgers, after one get his feet wet year where they went 6-10, Rodgers' second year playing, they go to the playoffs. His third year playing, they win the Super Bowl. I mean, Favre's last year in the league, the Packers win the Super Bowl. So that was another reason that Packers fans could easily kiss and make up with Brett. They had moved on. They got this 6, 7, whatever, however old he was, stud, and they're going to win more Super Bowls. And the funny thing is they haven't even been back. How much would you have lost on that bet for both Roethlisberger and Rodgers when Pittsburgh and Green Bay played in the 2010 Super Bowl? 12 years later, neither the Steelers nor Packers have been back in the game. Rodgers has played the whole time, and Ben played all but 1 year. My goodness. I think I'd be broke. I would have lost so much money.
I mean, do you see this? I mean, think about Rodgers and his relationships. He doesn't end them well. Any of them.
No. With women or now teams.
Or his family.
Well, that's true.
I'm
Apparently,
serious.
though,
He doesn't.
He's hinted at maybe making amends. He's hinted at it. I'm just saying. I mean, it's more dysfunctional than Harry and Meghan, so it might be worth paying attention to.
So Aaron will come back if they retire his jersey, maybe. Depends on his mood that day and what the shaman says.
Maybe the Bucks will have a home game. He'll still be a part owner.
Miller and Moulton. We have got a terrific show lined up for you today. David Samson, Pat Kirwan, Dusty May, Jim Larranaga, all ahead on Miller and Moulton.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
It wasn't as loud, but it was still there. Also, my right eye feels like it's being stabbed repeatedly.
By the way, I forget who it was in the Twitch chat room that said, when I said I didn't get COVID, and you said that I know of. You know how many times I got tested for COVID? Over 100. And there were like 3 to 5 times in the last 3 years that I was on the road and I thought, am I coming down with like allergies or a cold or something? And I took myself into a walk-in clinic and got tested. So I'm pretty confident I never got COVID. That doesn't mean I won't get it, but
Pretty confident I had it. Because I did lose smell and taste for 2 days, 3
Yeah.
days.
yeah, probably did. Really, Paul, you saw an CW billboard for LIV Golf. Interesting. And
Yeah,
Paul,
that's a digital one, right, Paul?
and Paul, the San Francisco organization and Montana were estranged, but the fan base wasn't. The fan base didn't want him to leave. They wanted an old Joe Montana instead of Steve Young.
I thought there was like 30 seconds left. It's like a minute 30 left.
By the way, Wright Thompson wrote one of his 10-page, pieces on Joe Montana.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And went all the way back to basically what drove him. Apparently he was mistreated by his high school coach. And
so I went down a rabbit hole yesterday and watched that Netflix Murdoch. And I didn't know a lot of the backstory. I mean, I knew some highlights. Holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quite a family.
Yes. I mean, I have to admit, if you're going to be corrupt, be corrupt. Good morning, Spitz. And Johnny Mac, well said. How does he end a relationship? With his lawyer. Well played.
Fifteen seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
It's 21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Starting 5 in a little less than 20 minutes. David Samson at the top of the hour. Pat Kirwan in a little more than an hour. Pat will be a little earlier than usual on this Tuesday because, well, both Dusty May of FAU and Jim Larranaga of Miami were kind enough to make themselves available to us, but they both said, need to do it in the 8 o'clock hour. We said, well, we could do that. So we'll have the two head coaches from the only two Florida schools in the men's tournament. They will join us back to back at the top and middle of the 8 o'clock hour. This is a story that I don't think will get a lot of national attention today because technically the tournament gets underway tonight. Technically. Do you consider the tournament getting underway tonight, by the way?
I do more now than I used to because playing teams have done some damage in the tournament. So
gone to Final Fours.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes, I would have no problem if they took out the 16s and made them actually in the tournament and made the 11s and the 12s have to be playing, or the 11s and the 10s be playing, whatever, all the 11, whatever you wanted to do, have the playing games for all the 11 seeds.
Okay.
I think it's a little bit of a disservice to the little guy who gets in and has to play on a Tuesday or a Wednesday and gets bounced. Even though I know now, where we are, and FGCU won that game one year.
Yes. And if you think about it, you get a national television game, even if it's 6:30 on a Tuesday or Wednesday on True TV, you're going to get 3 million people watch you, even in a battle of 16s. And then if you win it, you're obviously going to get to play a big boy on a Thursday or a Friday. You'll play a 1 seed, and that game will get a decent slot as well. Like the year FGCU won the play-in game, they played North Carolina in Raleigh and gave a good performance too. So, I mean, the infomercial continued throughout much of the rest of the week. I think if you lose it, it sucks. If you win it, it's great.
There you go. I want all of those teams to have a legit shot to take down the Goliath. You know what I mean? That's all.
Well, and also, if you think about it, we talked about this yesterday. 3 of the last 9 NCAA tournaments of 15 has not only won a game, they've won 2. FGCU in 2013, and then each of the last 2 years, Oral Roberts and St. Peter's. I mean, Oral Roberts came within a jumper of going to the Elite 8, and St. Peter's went to the Elite 8. They were 15s. Thank you very much. And by the way, Oral Roberts at 12 this year. It's funny, probably a better team than the one that went to the Sweet 16, but they're playing arguably the hottest team in the country. They drew Duke, right?
They drew Duke.
Unbelievable.
They're the biggest point spreads of the 5-12 games. I think that one's 6.5. Everything else is inside of 5.
So I want to bring up a story that I don't think is going to get a lot of attention today, except on one channel, the Golf Channel. So it was reported late yesterday that today there will be a joint presser between the USGA and the R&A. And they're going to do 2 things, Mark, reportedly. They're going to roll back the golf ball. They're actually doing it. No more sports talk radio, golf channel, roundtable discussion. Apparently, the USGA and the R&A are going to make it so that however it is they test the golf ball, it's based on a certain number of clubhead speed, and they're going to basically make it so that, all the balls right now, they're all not good. They all go too far. All the ball manufacturers are going to have to make new golf balls that won't go as far. And the Daily Double. What's the other thing that's been kicked around? I mean, Nicholas has been talking about these 2 things for 15 years, for what it's worth. If you think they're bat blank crazy, well, Jack's been advocating for both for 15 years. No, I mean, he did it once he became a senior citizen, so you can say Jack is bat blank crazy. But, Mark, they're going to roll back the golf ball. That's going to go over well. And it's called bifurcation. Different rules. Pros and top amateurs will have certain rules. The rest of us will have different rules.
About time.
Now, I'm curious what those rules are going to be. Where are they going to decide the rules need to be different? What are we talking about? We're talking about drops? I mean, what are we talking about?
Talking about equipment?
Yeah. But so apparently, and, the 5-hour time difference with the R&A. So I'm thinking, this will get announced lunchtime, which R&A time, which could be, 10 a.m. our time. I don't know the exact time, but there was a report yesterday that says, they're doing this. The golf ball's not going to go as far, and different rules for elite golf versus recreation golf.
Fascinating. I'm sure the golf ball manufacturers are really pleased about having to retool everything that they do.
Not at all.
It's
Not at all.
Well, of course not, because they've green lighted all of these golf balls for decades. They've green lighted every equipment advance that has been made, and now they're going to tell them no more.
Right. I mean, it's all about grip it, rip it, hit it farther. Yes. And now, well, farther is not going to be as far. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong. From what my understanding is from reading how technical this is going to get, it's going to go from, I don't know, something being 133 miles an hour to going 127 miles an hour. And, I mean, is Rory's drive going to go 350 or is it going to go 338? I don't know. But it doesn't seem like all of a sudden guys are going to be hitting mid-irons into these holes. They may just not be hitting wedges into all of them. They may actually have to hit an 8-iron. Or a jump on a 9. But you know what I'm getting at.
Well, I'm all in to see what it is they're going to say beyond the ball, because the rules part fascinates me of what they may do.
I'm also curious about the ball. Are they just going to have a uniform ball? Or are they going to have tournament golf balls that have a certain marking on them? And then, quite frankly, something Jack has also talked about. He's like, I want the ball to go as far as possible, and I think we should make the holes bigger. Make the game more fun. Now, tournament golf, top amateur golf, club championships, hell no. Okay, but, otherwise, got a bunch of 18 handicappers out there. I want them to be able to go out, play quickly, enjoy it, and play pretty well.
Which is rich for Jack to say someone should play quickly.
I know.
I mean, that's rich.
I know, but remember, he was slow in his day. The round was 4 hours. At the Players, they were 6. Threesomes, 5-hour, 40-minute threesomes at the Players.
They need a clock.
Yeah, no kidding. They need carts if they're going to play like this.
Fine, but they can still play in 4 hours walking a golf course.
They can. They just don't want to, obviously. And that's with the ball going as far as possible. But I thought you'd want to know this. It's in the baseball hour, the golf audience, the baseball audience, similar demographic. I thought it would interest the baseball hour audience.
I'm fascinated by it because I want to see what the rule changes are. And to a lesser extent, the ball, because I think you may be right. It could be a tournament ball and then a ball for everyone. Miller and Moulton, a starting 5 is next right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
They do wind chill, but I think Mark meant actually enforcing a clock. How about this, Mark? How about golf goes like baseball with a pitch clock, in which literally some guy brings out a clock and you go and puts it on the ground at 45 seconds.
It is ridiculous how long they take.
And that, the other guy hits the shot, the ball lands and what have you. And then, 10 seconds, and then boom, now it's the other guy's turn. And literally you go to him, and that's him and the caddy, and you could literally see the clock in the screen, or they just put it on the screen, and the 45 seconds starts.
In Winchell, you're right. They have a clock. They do not enforce it. Ever.
Actually, the LPGA enforces it. The LPGA is actually fined and penalized players for slow play. PGA Tour has hardly ever done it. I'm with you, Brown Chicken. I've always thought it was ground under repair. I've always thought you should get a drop for being in a divot.
At least in the fairway. You're in a divot in the rough, then it's on you.
Totally. Bad break, well, hit it straight. But you put it in the fairway and you're in a divot, that's BS.
So one of the guys that my buddy played with in the tournament is really good friends with EJ Raddick. He's working on getting them for us for the show.
That'd be awesome.
I know.
Yeah. Hold off another bite. Whew.
$30 seconds.
Felipe, how you doing?
Terrible.
What's
I
wrong?
have an eye infection.
What did he say?
Thinks he has an eye infection.
Oh, Need an antibiotic, man. If you ever have an infection, you need an antibiotic. Rest and water and all that won't do it. So you got to go to a walk-in clinic.
There's also 6 screens staring at me right now and studio lights. Whatever, it's fine. I'm fine. Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. David Samson to join us for his weekly visit at the top of the hour. Pat Kirwan, he's moved up today. He's 1 hour from now. Whole bunch of stuff went down in the NFL yesterday. We'll get to as much of it as we can with Pat Kirwan. 1 hour from now. Dusty May, Jim Larranaga, we'll talk some tournament in the 8 o'clock hour with the 2 men's head coaches who have led teams to the tournament in this state. That's it, just 2, Miami and FAU.
And congratulations to them, but man, oh man, that is a bad number for the amount of teams that there are in the state of Florida to only have 2 in the tournament.
Got that right. Great year for Dusty May, though. Be curious whether or not FAU can keep him. But the Ole Miss job and the Georgia Tech job have been filled, so they may get lucky. Time now for
The Starting 5. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting 5 on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Well, at noon yesterday, you were allowed to legally tamper, and that's a good thing. Teams could finally start talking to one another, and maybe by 3 o'clock tomorrow, we'll have some deals announced. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
Or,
I got about 24 deals here.
yeah, I would say that's about right.
Jimmy G to the Raiders. 3 for 67.5. That's only 22.5 a year. Half of it guaranteed. Wow. It's not nearly as much as we thought. Remember Jarrett Stidham was going to be the quarterback in Vegas unless they got somebody? Well, it's a good thing they signed Jimmy G because Stidham went to Denver. He's going to back up Russ. 2 years, $10 million. By the way, Jameis re-signed in New Orleans.
Yep.
I am shocked. That coach wanted nothing to do with him. As soon as he got hurt, he benched him, didn't play him. Seriously? 1 year, $8 million. He stayed. Mike White's a Dolphin. The Jets backup, who's intriguing. 2 years, $16 million. Apparently, he grew up on the East Coast of Florida, grew up a Dolphin fan.
Apparently, they don't think what Skylar Thompson as we once anticipated because they've brought in a backup.
Yeah, well, so what happened when Skylar Thompson played in the playoff game? They lost. Sam Darnold signed a 1-year deal with the Niners. That'll be a fascinating quarterback room. Don't know when Brock Purdy is going to be healthy. Don't know if he's going to be the starter when he is healthy. Then you got the Trey Lance guy. Dolphins weren't done. This is a signing that people are raving about. Titans linebacker David Long, 26 years old. He's been banged up occasionally, but when healthy, he is a tackling machine. And they got him for 2 years, $11 million. And that's a lot less than everybody else was signing inside linebackers for yesterday. Also, they re-signed Duke Riley for 2 more years, did the Dolphins. All right. Are you ready? The Bills restructured Josh Allen and Von Miller's deals to create $32 million in salary cap relief. Of course, they lost a bunch of guys yesterday to free agency, so it might be too little too late. Patrick Peterson left the Vikings, signed a 2-year deal with the Steelers. Denver. Man, I didn't realize the Broncos had this much money. I knew the owners had this much money. I didn't realize the team had this much money. They signed defensive end Zach Allen away from Arizona at a little over $15 million a year. They signed Mike McClinchy, the right tackle for the Niners, $16+ million a year for 5 years. And they signed Ben Powers. I think he was a Titans guard. 4 years, $52 million.
Ravens. I thought, but neither here nor there.
What?
I think he was a Ravens guard.
Oh, my bad. Eric Kendricks left the Vikings, signed with the Chargers. Speaking of the Chargers, they gave Austin Eckler permission to go seek a trade. Negotiations broke down. He's in the final year of his deal. They're like, fine, we're going to trade you. So, all righty then. Atlanta was busy. They signed Bengals safety Jesse Bates, $16 million a year for 4 years. They signed Saints defensive tackle David Onyemata. They traded a 7th-round pick to the Patriots for tight end Jonnu Smith. And they gave a 5-year extension to their one good offensive lineman, guard Chris Lindstrom. They're paying him $21 million a year. A guard. Holy blank. The Bears were busy. They signed Bills inside linebacker Tremaine Edmonds, $18 million a year for 4 years. Eagles linebacker TJ Edwards. Titans guard Nate Davis, $10 million a year. They're just getting started. Cleveland signed defensive tackle Dalvin Tomlinson away from the Vikings. They gave him $14 million a year. 49ers signed defensive tackle Javon Hargrave, $21 million a year.
That's a pretty good defense. I mean, and that defensive line just got better.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a menacing defensive front already, and they signed maybe the best D tackle in free agency. That's
the
don't
Giants
know who's the quarterback. Don't know how
linebacker Bobby Okereke for $10 million a year for 4 years. Seattle signed Denver defensive tackle Draymond Jones, $17 million a year. 49er safety Jimmy Ward followed D'Amico Ryans to Houston on a modest deal. Tampa Bay re-signed cornerback Jamel Dean, $13 million a year for 4 years. Washington signed Chiefs offensive tackle Andrew Wiley. The Chiefs then went and signed Jags tackle Juwan Taylor and gave him $20 million a year. So it looks like their starting tackles, Mark, in the Super Bowl, Wiley and Orlando Brown are going to be playing elsewhere. How about that? And Detroit signed cornerback Cam Sutton, $10 million a year. That's the best I could do. I looked up everything I could. If I missed something, I apologize. WBC, that's the World Baseball Classic. The U.S. with 9 in the first last night in Phoenix. Trout capped it off with a 3-run homer. We mercy ruled Canada. 12-1-7.
So take that, Canada.
Yeah. By the way, we play Colombia tomorrow. And we're likely to advance even if we lose because of run differential. John Morant is out indefinitely. He's apparently in the state of Florida undergoing counseling. And it's basically being described as behavioral counseling. How to handle stress better. How to not be a thug, basically. I don't know where you go for that. I really don't. But he's out indefinitely. They ain't playing around. I don't blame him. I will say that. I do not blame Memphis. This is your franchise. You got to correct this and correct it now. He's 23 years old, and he's beating up people, and he's brandishing guns. All right? You got one shot to get this right, and it's now. Because if it escalates beyond here, this is going to be a tragic story. And it's only going to take your franchise down with it. No big deal or anything. Because he's signed. You know, he's $40 million a year. He's signed. That counts, by the way. You go out and beat somebody up and get arrested and go to jail, that money stays on the books. Memphis, no Ja. They beat Dallas, no Luka and Kyrie, 104-88. You know the Mavs are the 8th seed? That deal's really working out well, isn't it? Miami rallied to beat Utah, 119-115. Minnesota beat Atlanta by 21. The T-Wolves are the 7th seed. Atlanta's the 8th seed. It's looking more and more like Miami, Atlanta, and a play-in the East. And, Mark, if Golden State could stay at home, they could win the NBA title. They beat Phoenix at home last night, 123-112. You know Golden State's the 5 seed and Phoenix is the 4 seed? Would that interest you at all in a first-round series?
That would be fantastic. It's going to go 7 because, well, Golden State can't win on the road.
That would interest me. I got to be honest. I'd watch a first-round NBA series. Milwaukee got 46 points, 12 rebounds from Giannis. Winning in Sacramento, 133-124. By the way, what is up with the Celtics? They lost in Houston last night. Houston. Not to the Cougars either. They lost to the Rockets. 111-109. All right, Milwaukee's now got a 3-game lead in the loss column to be the 1 seed. That thing's all but over. I don't know if Milwaukee will lose 3 times the rest of the year. But not only that, Boston's only a game up on the Sixers for the 2. And Detroit beat Indiana by 20. Cool moment in Toronto last night, Mark. Did you see it?
I did.
So the Sabres were in Toronto to play the Maple Leafs. That's Buffalo and Toronto. So that's a U.S. city, obviously, and team, and a Canadian city and team. So before the game, they play the U.S. anthem, and they play the Canadian anthem. And, the mic didn't work for the U.S. anthem. So there's music, but there's no voice. And so the Toronto crowd gave it about 20 seconds, and then they said, well, hell, we know the words. So the Canadian crowd sang the U.S. national anthem and did a damn good job. Thank you very much.
If that was flipped, I don't know if we'd pull off old Canada.
I don't think so either. We'd need the words up on the screen. That's for sure. And I did not see the words up on the screen in Toronto either in the replays that I saw. So, but then Toronto went and blew a 2-0 second period lead and lost to Buffalo 4-3. Colorado doubled up Montreal 8-4. Dallas over Seattle 5-2. Tournament gets underway tonight. True TV. Look it up. Find it. You're going to need it for 2 weeks, or at least this week.
This week.
You're going to need it this week. True TV. The play-in games tonight. Southeast Missouri State's a 4-point dog against Texas A&M Corpus Christi. That's the early game. Pitt's a 2.5-point dog against Mississippi State. Tom McCarthy with the call on True TV. He's the voice of the Phillies. He's really good. There are 8 NIT games tonight, by the way. The most interesting one, Villanova's at Liberty. The type of matchup you would never see in a regular season. Like Villanova would ever agree to play an A-Sun team on the road. But they go by seeding. And Villanova's home court, I believe, is being used for the women's tournament.
That's correct.
So Liberty is hosting Villanova tonight. Liberty's a 3-point favorite. By the way, I'm betting against both Michigan and Rutgers. They're both solid favorites. They're both like 7, 8-point favorites. I'm taking the 2 teams they're playing. I don't even care who they're playing. I don't think either one wants to be there. I'm taking the points. They may win because they're so much better, but I don't care. I'm taking the points tonight. One team who really wants to be in the NIT and the other who's like, why didn't we do what North Carolina did? Huh, Coach? Golf, we mentioned it last segment. USGA and the RNA going to have a presser today. They're going to roll back how far the golf ball can go. And apparently they're going to come up with different rules for tournament golf at the high amateur and professional level and for us on the weekends. And Major League Baseball announced yesterday they're streaming games for free amid the looming Diamond Sports, a.k.a. Bally's, bankruptcy. So that's the first offer for a solution for Major League Baseball. We don't know when Bally's is going bankrupt, but just so you know, from day one, we'll stream these games for free. Don't know where you can find them.
I was going to say we don't know exactly where yet. This is going to be a cluster blank, but
we still got time. You know, opening day's 2 weeks from Thursday. We got 16 days. Just letting you know, the games will be streamed. We'll get back to you. And as we approach 8 minutes before the hour, that was
the starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
So there you go. Any of those NFL free agent moves you really liked?
Like I mentioned, I liked what the Niners did, getting the big fella from Philadelphia to make that defensive line even better than it already is. Did see a report that Miami looked at other backup quarterbacks and settled on White because they had a certain price point and they weren't going to go past that price point.
Have to admit, though, that price point's pretty high. Jameis was $8 million. Stidham was $5 million. White was $8 million. I mean, I haven't seen a backup quarterback signed for more than $8 million yet. So I don't know who they were looking at then. I'm fine with Mike White, by the way, if I'm a Dolph fan. He's competent. I don't know if you could do much better than Mike White. I was a little surprised you had to pay him $8 million a year, but especially in Florida, the whole tax thing. Thought you might have been able to get away with a little less, but all right.
And I'm fine with it too. Just one of the stories that I read on it was that they were shopping other quarterbacks that were higher priced. That was their max price that they were going was $8 million, and that's who they get for $8 million, Mike White. So that's the backup. No, I mean, I'm interested in see what Jimmy G does with the Raiders because I think Jimmy G's I like him better than most like him.
Okay, fair enough.
But I don't know. That defense is still awful. No matter how you no matter who the quarterback is, they can't stop anybody, and they've not done anything to fix that yet. Miller and Moulton, terrific show lined up for you. David Samson coming up next. Pat Kirwan also in the 7 o'clock hour. Dusty May and Jim Larranaga in the 8 o'clock hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom car, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
We did not. Ambient heat. Good morning, David.
Good morning. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. I feel badly. I was ready to have a whole Oscars talk with you, but I couldn't make it for the whole program. I made it till about 10:30, and that was about it for me.
Ooh, you missed a lot.
Oh, I know I did.
But you saw the monologue. That's something.
Couple of good speeches. The guy that won the best supporting actor speech was terrific.
Kiwi Kwan was great. Michelle Yeoh's speech was great at the end of the night. Jamie Lee Curtis's speech was good too.
Yeah, it was.
Made me feel old though.
Angela Bassett's reaction to Jamie Lee Curtis was outstanding.
Terrible.
See, I think you're allowed to be disappointed.
Yes, but you're just supposed to hide it. You're supposed to be MFing under your breath, not.
Why?
It's just sportsmanship. Meet the media after and tell them that you should have won. You're disappointed. What more can I do? It's not like it was some upstart who won. Jamie Lee Curtis was the same age, had never won either.
You picked Angela Bassett, though, in your picks.
I know. One of the 5 I got wrong. Very disappointing.
So you went 18-5?
Yes. I'm getting so many people. I'm up to now 19, which is not, I guess, not that many, but 19 people reached out to me to say they won their Oscar pool by copying my pool.
Oh.
And 4 of them are donating a percentage of their winnings to charity of my choice, and I just said choose your own charity. So that was cool, too.
20 seconds.
Did you say it was the Nothing Personal with David Samson charity? No? Okay. Because CBS throws money around like manhole covers unless your name's Tony Romo. So
here we go.
Maybe I should leave there.
Mm-hmm.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And it's a good thing we talked to David Samson on Tuesdays because he is an Oscar hound and he stayed up late and then got up early. He would have been a zombie for us yesterday, but he got a good night's sleep, which for David's about 4 hours. And so he's ready to go. It's the Nothing Personal with David Samson podcast. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday live at 8 a.m. Tuesday and Thursday taped is live. CBS Sports HQ, CBSSports.com. Follow him on Twitter, David the letter P. Samson. So you got 18 out of the 23 awards right. That's outstanding.
Yeah, but I always go for the perfect ballot. So for me, it's funny. Maybe this is just childhood growing up or lack of popularity, but I don't view 18-5 as spectacular. And missing supporting actress and missing best actor, I find to be troubling.
So you take this, how long have you taken the Oscars this seriously? Has this been a lifelong thing? Is it something that happened in adulthood? When did you get the passion? Because while I was watching the Oscars, I was paying as much attention to what you were saying on Twitter as what was going on the screen.
So the background is when I was about 14, I started charting NBA referees, and I would try to predict which referees would be in which finals games and which conference finals games. And I was able to do really well. I was obsessed with referees, and I would literally chart which games they would do. And that's when I started focusing on the Oscars as well. So it's been going on now for over 40 years where I pay attention very closely to Oscars. I watch movies. I watch a movie every day. And I had a period of about 20 years where I could have been hired by the NBA to do the referee chart.
Were you screaming like Selection Sunday, like somebody got robbed? Okay, Angela Bassett or something. Were you going, oh, come on?
So no, that's from 18 years in Major League Baseball. I do not react that way. I learned because everybody's always watching you. The players are watching you. The fans are watching you. I try to keep my reaction somewhat muted because I view myself like as a flight attendant during turbulence. I don't want to run up and down the aisle like a chicken without a head because then it causes panic. So I just pretty much stay calm on the outside and I keep all of the anger bubbling inside me.
See, Mark, I remember Steinbrenner getting a tying run in a playoff game thrown out at home and basically trashing the suite he was in Kansas City. And you knew right then and there Dick Hauser was getting fired. Okay, I mean, that's the reaction shots I'm looking for.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you that. I'll let the owner give you that. But if there have been times during my career where I've said something and they mostly came with umpire discretion calls when the new catching rules came into place because I took that so personally because a Marlins player was involved in the new catching rules. His name was Scott Cousins when he bowled over a guy named Buster Posey, who I think your listeners know who that is. And that was the beginning of the end of catchers being able to do their job. And so there were times when I would get very, very upset. But remember, my owner would yell at umpires from the first row. So I didn't want to be that.
I just thought he was yelling at Girardi.
That was only once.
Okay.
He would be very vocal. And you knew the players were watching too. And I would always say to him, just because we're down 3 runs in the 8th, don't get up and storm away. Sit there because we could still come back. But he was a pretty emotional owner.
That's tough when you're a president of a team because they're reactionary when they're that way, aren't they?
They are, and you have to go in the clubhouse, and he would only go into the clubhouse after victories, and I would make sure that I was in the clubhouse after losses mostly. And victories, what I would do is I would walk in the clubhouse, I'd go see the manager, I'd take 1 lap around the room, do a quick pat on the butt of the players and say, see you tomorrow, while everyone was reveling and playing music. But on losses, I would go in and stay longer because I wanted players to know that I was going to be there when things were bad, or when things were good, not just when things were good.
All right, I went on a diatribe on Friday. Here's my feeling. If you're going to do the World Baseball Classic, do it. All right, do it in July, one time. Yeah, I know. But if you're going to do it, do it. And you can do it one of 2 ways. You can shut the sport down for 3 weeks like the NHL does on an Olympic year, or you could just say to the owners who are the really good players, hey, I don't know what to tell you. You're going to have to test your organizational depth because your star players for 2-3 weeks are going to be playing for their native countries. And, that's if the owners don't want to give up games and don't want their ballparks in July sitting empty. But just the thought of, if you're Rob Manfred, this was Bud Selig and Rob Manfred's baby, this World Baseball Classic. David, if you're going to do it, do it.
He doesn't have the votes. So I hear what you're saying, but I was in the room when the World Baseball Classic was developed, when it was announced, when it was voted on, when the rules were made, and there was not enough ownership support. July is the perfect time. We talked about replacing the All-Star game with the World Baseball Classic every 4 years, where the union would approve because you still name All-Stars, so they get their bonuses in their contract, but you don't play the game. You do the World Baseball Classic every 4 years. Brilliant idea. Pitchers are stretched out. It makes more sense, but we didn't have the votes. And without 23 votes, you can't agree that today's Tuesday. That's the bottom line. So you can say all the things you want, but there was no support for it.
What's going to happen with the teams that aren't getting the huge rights fees checks from Diamond Sports? I mean, this is to us, it's the biggest story out there in sports right now with what's going on with Sinclair, Diamond, Bally's, whatever you want to call them, going bankrupt. What's going to happen with the teams when they aren't getting these checks? Are there going to be teams selling off players this year?
Boy, I wish we had a double segment because this is the largest sports story of the year, bar none. Bigger than Ohtani, bigger than anything going on in the NFL, bigger than Aaron Rodgers. So let's just pretend that you're expecting to get $60 million from your broadcast partner. If that contract gets broken because your broadcast partner basically is bankrupt, MLB is going to take over the production and distribution of the games. They're going to sell into those games. And let's say they generate enough to pay the team $30 million a year. That means the team is down $30 million. What I think is going to happen this year, and they're not saying it, is there's something called the Commissioner's Discretionary Fund. That is a fund that is built up through national revenue and through fines and through various other things that come up. It's part of the industry generated revenue. And I think MLB will make that team whole and write a $30 million check to that team so that team gets its full $60 million that it expected. That's this year. Next year, I think you're going to have a much bigger fight, a much bigger issue, because teams made their payroll this year according to getting all $60 million. But next year, if they know in advance, they may only get 30. I think you're going to see the impact next year. You will not see this year selling off of players. You will see teams made whole.
How much money is in that commissioner's fund? I mean, Manfred himself 3 weeks ago said we could be talking about $1 billion worth of lost revenue here. Let's just say it's half that, like you talked about, 30 out of 60. Does Major League Baseball have $400 or $500 million sitting around in a fund?
So when you say sitting around in a fund, they don't have that money sitting around in a fund. Do they have access to that money? The answer is yes. Do they want to give it to teams like that? No, but they're not going to have a choice. The discretionary fund does not have that much in it, but they have access to capital in other ways as well. The main point, though, in my opinion, David, is that they've got to make teams whole this year, because if not, there is going to be a real problem with players on the market and teams who are in the race with low revenue trading their players because they've got to make payroll. The other way you could see it is by raising the debt limits allowed by a particular team. There are limits in place right now which are supposed to quash payroll, which limit the amount of debt a team can have. If you raise the debt limit, like we see in the federal government, when you need more money, just raise the debt limit, which is the equivalent of having a big credit card bill, and instead of paying it, you call the credit card company and you say, hey, just raise my credit limit, which sounds good until you actually have to pay it back. And all these teams have to pay all their debt back. And then you say, but the teams are worth billions, no problem. But owners say, you're cutting into my profit.
Well, part of what made these teams worth so much money was this lucrative regional cable deals. This now is going. This is not just Sinclair. AT&T has said they're not going to be able to make payments to 3 teams as well. I mean, long term, what is this going to do to this sport? And obviously, to a lesser extent, to hockey and basketball.
I think you're going to have to see a bigger premium in the acquisition price on what's called the ego premium. The ego premium is an amount of money that an individual will pay to say they're the owner of a team, and you allocate part of the purchase price to that ego premium. It's not as though you look at the numbers of any team and say, wow, this team's worth $2 billion. Look at that. It's a 10 times multiple of revenue. No one does that because they want to be in the room where it happens. They want to own a team. So now with revenues going down, in theory, if they're not made up in any other way, then prospective owners are going to say, yeah, but I like owning a team.
David, what do you think the price point is, whether it's Major League Baseball putting the streaming and putting a dollar value on it, or going forward, teams are going to have to do it? I mean, to me, I think you could go as high as $29 a month. It's $1 a game. I think a diehard fan would pay $1 a game. Okay, now that might be too high. What do you think? And I'm sure you guys sat around and talked about this because you knew it was going to be the future. You just didn't know when. What do you think the price point is that the fan will pay?
I think that you're exactly right, that people will pay $1 a game until their team stinks or is out of it. So our thought was the first 3 months of the season, you're good with that. But the last 3 months, when you get to the dog days of summer, if your team is not competitive, people will either reallocate their $1 a month and follow a different team, or worse, they'll just take their $1 a month and go somewhere else. I don't think anyone pays up front $360 or whatever, $180, whatever you want to say, to just look at their team and commit to the full 6 months in advance.
I think they pay $100.
I think that the hypothesis is going to be tested.
There's no doubt there. There is no doubt there. And I worry about these teams who have great television audiences, but the television audience is an older audience. I mean, this is a whole new level of how to market your sport coming right at you now.
And it's happening. So what I think COVID did, and what the bankruptcy of Diamond and Sinclair is doing, it's just making everything come at us faster. That's the issue. This was all going to happen, but we didn't think it would happen for another decade or 2 decades when after these current local deals were up. But the decrease in value of these regional sports networks just, boy, did it happen fast.
Listen, if you ever stop doing this podcast, if you could be less popular, we'd have you on for another segment. So could you stop doing your job so well? Damn it. Could
Have
you
a
think
great day.
about Miller and Moulton for a change?
Could you stop selling so many commercials that a segment is actually only 12 minutes?
Yeah, you got that right.
I hope you're getting the revenue from that.
Of course we're
Sheesh.
not. He's David Samson. The daily podcast is Nothing Personal with David Samson, CBS Sports HQ, CBSSports.com. Follow him on Twitter, David, the letter P. Samson, David P. Samson. David, as always, have a great week.
You too. See you soon.
David Samson, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton. He actually asked out loud if we were getting the revenue from the commercials. That's hysterical. Funniest thing he's ever said.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Got to follow him on Twitter, Paper City Gamer. David, the letter P, Samson. He's a good Twitter follow. Hashtag wait to see. Oh, man. Thank you, Gibson. That was nice to do that for Ambien. By the way, the FGCU women's basketball team liked every one of my tweets, including the "It's time to go scorched earth."
Yeah, I know.
The athletic director liked every tweet except "It's time to go scorched earth."
Because he won't.
I understand. But I just found it funny. The team itself just kept going, preach it, preach it.
Seconds.
This year, they play Washington State, who won the Pac-12.
Coming back.
My understanding, it's a perfect contrast. Washington State's really big. FGCU is not.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Felipe with the Clutch Vodka play of the day in a matter of minutes. Pat Kirwan to join us in a little more than 15 minutes' time. He's joining us earlier than he normally does on Tuesday because, well, we are getting knee-deep and then some with the madness. Got two Florida schools playing in the men's tournament, FAU and Miami. Got both their head coaches back-to-back, starting at the top of the 8 o'clock hour, Dusty May, Jim Larranaga. So there. We'll give you brackets. We'll give you the madness. Yesterday was National Nap Day. Did you nap?
I did not. I had quite a bit to do and then ran out of time for a nap and tried to watch one of the movies that was nominated for an Academy Award and started at about 9:30 and lasted about 30 minutes into it.
So
And
you
was
didn't
done.
nap, but you slept.
I slept.
Gotcha. So we've talked about it on this show. I do not sleep with my wife. We have separate beds. In fact, we just said, the hell with it. You get your room, I'll get mine. You go to bed really early. I don't like to go to bed early, even doing a morning show. You like to watch your stuff. I don't want any part of that stuff. And you don't like the sports. So you have your room. I'll kiss you goodnight at 8 o'clock. You go do your thing. I'll go do mine. And we'll be married 27 years in June. So, I mean, you can only make so much fun.
It's working for you.
Right. Definitely. And it's working for her, too.
Right.
Okay. When she feels like sleeping with somebody, she goes get somebody. But that's a joke. So apparently, they did a big survey. Did you see this sleep survey?
I did not.
49% would be willing to try sleeping in a separate bed as a way to get better rest. Because apparently, couples do not get more than 4 good nights of sleep a week. Be honest. Good nights of sleep a week. How many do you think you get?
Oh, God, I don't know. Not very many.
Okay. Would you be willing to try the Lucy and Desi? Because my grandparents did that. They had the same bedroom. Okay. They just each had their own, double bed.
I would be willing to, believe it or not, my wife wouldn't.
Okay.
Because whether it's, you're a little sick, and I used to snore. I don't anymore. I had some things done so I don't snore. I'm like, hey, if I'm bothering you, I'll go sleep upstairs. It's like, nope.
Apparently, the number one thing you can do to disrupt sleep is steal the covers. Followed closely by tossing and turning. Television and lights on is third.
Guilty.
Okay, there you go.
I'm not allowed to sleep with the TV on, though.
Wait, you're not allowed?
No, she's.
So what happens? Like when she's ready to go to sleep, if you two are in bed and you're watching TV, does she just turn it off and say, sorry, honey, it's time to go to sleep?
She goes to bed before me most every night. So I don't have the opportunity to go, every once in a while, if we're watching a game, and by watching a game, if we're watching the Penguins,
exactly.
I'll say, can we put that on in the bedroom? And she'll agree to it. Maybe if I'm watching a game, I'll say, can I put it on in the bedroom? But she also knows the problem is I'm one of those people that I put the TV on in the bedroom and I'm out in 60 seconds and she's there with the lights on going, what the hell? Where's the remote? Where did he hide it?
There you go. So anyway, there's some sleep research. Okay. Today is this month is apparently National Sleep Awareness Month. So the bedding companies are, throwing all the information out there, wanting you to, maybe you need to get a second bed.
Well, that's it. You need to spend a ton of money on a new mattress.
We just went out of town twice within like 8-9 days. And I got one king-size bed both times in our hotel room. I did not get the 2 beds. She steals the covers. I don't care. I'm fat. Okay. I like it cool anyway. I actually said to her, please steal the covers. Okay. I want it as cool. In fact, I would like to put the temperature on 62. In fact, I look at the temperature gauge and hope it says meat locker. Okay. Then I look for the coldest temperature I can find that I think is the closest to meat locker. So, that's another thing. What temperature do you set it at? A lot going on here. It's a lot more complicated than you think. They don't talk about this stuff, when you're thinking of settling down and, this is the person you're going to spend your whole life with, blah, 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 blah.
No,
blah.
because that's in the early times when Make It Happen nights damn near every night. You're not thinking about what happens when normalcy comes around.
That's another survey, by the way. Do you shower before bed or do you shower in the morning? I've always been a shower in the morning person. Going back to when I was a kid. We showered in the morning. You showered, got dressed, you went to school, you went to work. Okay. A lot of people are shower before you go to bed. My feeling is you just wash the sheets. Now, of course, I'm a guy. How often do I wash the sheets? Well, when the sheets are dirty enough that they can remove themselves from the bed and walk down the hallway, then I guess it's time to wash the sheets.
It's very much a man's way of changing the bed.
Right. I care that it smells like barbecue ribs in the bed. In fact, I kind of like it.
That's the perfume look we were going for.
Exactly. I could sleep with my wife and get a perfume, or I could get takeout and smell that as I go to bed. have to admit, I'd sleep better with the takeout.
Time now for our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Felipe, what do you got for us?
Heat needed a win last night, and they got it. Some clutch plays on both ends of the floor.
To Tyler. Tyler, top of the arc. Step back, fires a three. That one's good. That's good. Tyler, 2 of 10 from downtown sometime. It's win, not how many.
Clock winding down. 12 seconds to play. Ubashi drives all the way in and missed it. Bam got a piece of it. Bam had a bio with the defensive play of the night.
Hero with the 3, Bam with the block. And that's Miami Heat basketball right there. Heat win and are just outside of the playoffs, fighting for that final 6 seed spot. Heat Hawks play-in game right now, right, David?
Yep. Heat are the 7. They're 3 games in the loss column behind both the Nets and the Knicks. They have one game left in the play-in game. I know that.
They're playing in the play-in game.
They are. They are.
I don't think that changes.
I'll tell you what, though. Right now, you'd get Boston. And Boston will probably get its act together between now and the playoffs. But Boston's only a game ahead of Philly for the 2 seed right now. Listen, remember, Philly got off to that 8-7 start. Take a look at the Sixers' record after the 8-7 start. I think it's the best record in the NBA. This actually could work to their advantage, Mark. Being the 7 seed, if you will, if they can get Boston. Because Philly might actually be the team nobody's talking about in the East that over the final 65 games of the season was actually the best team in the East.
I do think Boston will get their act together.
I do too. I think they're bored. Season's too long.
There's no doubt that they have taken the NBA season. They play the season differently. Even after the All-Star break, when we thought everybody was going to be playing everyone and it was going to be a little more high intensity, guys are still taking days off. The number 1 seed doesn't matter the way it once did, and these players are well aware of it.
Because remember, the Celtics, they won a Game 7 on the road in the Eastern Conference Finals last year in Miami. And when Milwaukee won the championship, they didn't have home court in the finals, and they didn't have home court in the second round against Durant and the Nets. So you're right. It's tough to convince these guys that home court means something. Apparently, the only team it means something to is the Warriors.
Where it means everything. I think they've won 8 straight at home, and they're 15-1 in their last 16. But on the road, they can't win a game to save their lives.
Against anybody, including College of Charleston.
Legal tampering started yesterday at noon. We'll talk about all the players that were signed by 12:30 with Pat Kirwan. He's next on Miller and Moulton. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Good morning, Pat.
Good morning, boys. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
It's crazy time for me. Just trying to stay out with all this.
I know.
It's like it's more fun than the season. It's not as important as the season, but it's more fun. Oh yeah.
You were not high on the Bears signing Edmonds, were you?
I am. First off, the money. The problem with the inside linebackers is there's no real tag for them because the linebacker tag's over $20 million, and it's based on the outside linebackers. And that's why you don't see inside linebackers getting tagged. You don't see guards and centers getting tagged. Those guys are tied to the left tackles. I mean, it's really, we need 4 more tags, I think. And
center and guards together or separate?
You can put them together, but they're kind of, their pay structures are about the same. But you definitely need an inside. And here's what kills me, Mark. I say it to you guys every year. We split the defensive line up into tackles and ends.
Right, but we don't.
But we didn't split the offensive line. You know, and the inside linebackers are a lot. The outside linebackers, really, 34 outside linebackers should be with the ends. Period. But I think we actually need a tag for returners, because you can never tag. If you got a world-class returner, you can't tag him.
Because he's a receiver or a back or whatever is.
Yeah, so he's never going to be tagged, and you can't protect yourself with that in case you wanted to. So we're short about 4 tags, and then we have some sanity. But it is what it is. Fun to watch it happen. How you doing there, David?
I'm a little under the weather, but I'm okay.
You look fine.
That is
Mark?
the one advantage, Pat, about never looking good.
That's just beating yourself up for no reason.
So, Pat, I'm going fishing Sunday.
Oh, God, I'd love to. My brothers are in town. My youngest brother, he's crazy. I'd love to be fishing. I do want to know how the golf went.
Went well. We won our flight, and I played out of my tree.
Good. Very good.
I might be a little bit competitive, Pat. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I am aware of it. I am aware of, and you know, you'll send me the picture of the fish you catch, which will piss me off more. So you've never failed to do that.
I'm hoping so we got a charter, so I'm looking forward to it.
Ah, very nice. You going far out, 50 or so, 60?
Probably.
Yeah, last year we started going out a lot farther than we did the years before. I just wonder what the hurricane did, stirring it up.
Exactly.
Steve goes out. He's in Colorado skiing. That's why I won't be fishing. But he said that some of our spots are gone. So,
just gone, right? Bottom's
yeah.
completely changed.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Which is great. You can find new ones, you know. I said to him, go work on Erlacker's boat. He always has the best markings. We just steal those. All right. I have not been playing as much golf as I'd like to be, but this is part of the reason. Free agency.
Yeah, that'll be able to start a little bit now, won't it?
Yeah, we'll get another 5 days of this crap. At the end of this week, it should start to settle down, and you know, not all the cuts, but everyone's got to be under the cap tomorrow, so they'll be.
15 seconds.
I know that voice. I heard some sounds from him.
Happy Dolphins fan.
Oh, yeah, Mike White. He's a real leader. You paid him which proves how much you think concussions are still a factor.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
It's 22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan will join us now a little earlier than usual on a Tuesday because Dusty May, the FAU head coach, and Jim Larranaga, the Canes head coach, are both going to join us next hour. The two Florida schools that are in the NCAA men's tournament, and their coaches will join us beginning at the top of the hour. Pat joins us every week courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, over a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Well, it's a good thing that teams weren't talking before noon yesterday, right?
Oh, sure. You know, it's amazing what I saw in Indianapolis. I see nothing Schultz from Hogan's Heroes. It was all going on. So those things were in place, and we saw the fast race and how many guys got signed right away. And so just keeping a tab for your listeners, because I'm interested in all of this stuff. We had 30 restructures where guys are actually getting signing bonus for salary. We had 30 reductions or releases. So if you don't take the reduction, you're getting released. So isn't it interesting? 30 restructures and 30 reduction/releases. 46 important UFA relocations, if you will, new teams, and 45 returns to their old team. So we're over 100 transactions, just about 100 transactions in 24 hours. And we should see another 60 or so today.
And there will be more releases, I'm guessing, today as well, as teams are still trying to get that cap compliant by the time the league starts its new business year. Let's start with Garoppolo to Vegas. Were you surprised that they were able to sign him for that little amount of money?
Yes, I think that was one of the better deals if you look at it from a club perspective. I don't think he wanted to go to a place that was a complete rebuild. He knows what he's doing with Josh. And, you know, the funny money, and this one might be pretty clean, so he might have a real chance to earn all of it. Where I think when you guys really break down these contracts, you start realizing it's half of what they said. Most of the releases about these contracts are from the agents, which tells you they're just trying to get new clients off these deals, and they inflate what the reality it is. But I think in the case of Jimmy, it's probably all real, number one. Number two, they don't really have to draft a quarterback this year if they don't want to. They could do it next year with 2 years left on Jimmy's deal at that point. So it gives the team some flexibility. What I'd like to see him do, to you guys, I'd love to see him take Hendon Hooker in the second round and let him get better. He's got a tremendous arm, and I'd love to see him behind Jimmy Garoppolo for 2 years.
By the way, the deal, at least that what was reported, 3 years, $67.5 million. That's $22.5 million a year. 34 of the 67 is guaranteed.
Yeah.
So it looks very friendly. If for whatever reason, even if the Raiders wanted to move on after 1 year, they could with only a small cap hit next season. Man, they threw some money around yesterday. I know the Dolphins apparently got the steal at linebacker, David Long, for 2 years, $11 million. But man, offensive linemen, defensive tackles, inside linebackers, some people got paid yesterday, Pat.
Yeah, so I think this trend happens every year, but it's good to remind everyone. So there's two things that are causing this fast run for players. Number one, do you have the cap space and the cash? So the owner of the Falcons says to me, we're going to spend all of it. We got a lot. We're finally out of cap jail. I'm going to let my coach get whatever he wants. The other part of it is the amount of explosiveness in the area of coordination changes. If you look at head coach Sean Payton, Denver's out taking guys right and left, but the amount of coordinators that have moved on to other teams, and what do they want to do? They want to bring guys from their last team with them so they can set up their system. So you start thinking about that. Denver's really on a move here with Ben Powers and McGlinchey, Zach Allen. I know a lot of teams who wanted Zach Allen, Manhurts, etc. Stidham, they paid him. Then you look at Chicago and how they feel about spending that cap space. And Atlanta, that's where all the action is. The teams that are strategic and did a couple of things, that's a little different. But I think if you look at the amount of coordinator changes and cap space, it kind of drives you to a lot of the deals.
Certainly looks as if Sean Payton in Denver are going to want to run the football when you go get a couple of linemen like that they've kind of give us an indicator of how they're going to work this offense. Don't you think, Pat?
Yeah. And so who is Sean Payton's biggest influence in his football life? Bill Parcells. And Bill Parcells, when he took off and went to the media for a couple of years before he returned, he learned a lot about the league. Most of these head coaches don't know the league very well. They know their team and their schedule. And so when you get into the media, and I guarantee you Parcells trained them to think that way. Hey, you're going to go back someday. You got a chance to go see all these teams. You have a chance to study them. Get ready. And I remember when Parcells went back, he went straight back to New England from the media. And who'd he take? 3 of my practice squad guys. Now, how did he know about them? Because he was at our practices when he had those games. And he used to stand there and watch me working with some of the linemen, and boom, they became Patriots. So I think Sean learned how to look at this league when you're outside the league, and it helped him.
Give me a signing or two you really liked.
Signings I liked. Well, sometimes I don't care about the money as much as I care about the impact the player is going to have on a certain team. So just things that I thought were interesting. I'm not a big fan of the Jalen Ramsey. I do like Tremaine Edmonds, and it's a little old school, if you will. But as you said earlier, you can't really tag inside linebackers because the tag structure is based on the outside backers, so no one really tags those guys. I like that. Javon Hargrave going to San Francisco. There's a good football team who now puts an inside penetrator on the roster. So don't make a lot of deals, just make a couple of great deals, and there's one of them for me as I see it. Go ahead.
Oh, I was letting you roll, but I'm with you on Hargrave because the Niners they're obviously friendly with the quarterback position, the money they're spending there, and that defense now just got a lot better, Pat.
Yep. I like Jesse Bates going to Atlanta. I'm a big Jesse Bates fan. He can run a defense from the back end. They lost both of their safeties. They anticipated losing at least one. They liked their draft pick from last year, but they're going to be short. If you look at that Bengal defense, Lou Anarumo really ran it through the safeties and what they were able to do. So I do think that's going to help those guys quite a bit when you look at that one.
Interesting move by the Chiefs. There's essentially both starting tackles in the Super Bowl are going to be gone because it doesn't look like they're going to re-sign Orlando Brown. All right. And Wiley, all right, went to Washington, but then they replace at least one of them with Jags tackle Jawan Taylor. Got to admit that. I find that interesting. Jawan Taylor had to win the job in training camp just last year in Jacksonville.
Yeah, but look, Andy's expertise is line. He rarely makes mistakes in the offensive line. He was not going to pay Orlando again. I think if Orlando had said last year he would have done a 5-year deal, all this would have never happened. Orlando's still available, interestingly enough. If you grade him out game by game, he did not play well until about November. Now, Jawan Taylor will take over one side. The quarterback helps a lot the way he plays. Look, they have Lucas Niang, who they've been dying to use. If you go back to the Super Bowl when they ran that tackle-eligible play, Andrew Wiley had to come out of the game for a play because you can't stay ineligible, then eligible, then ineligible. So who comes in? Lucas Niang. They were ready, I think, on the launch pad for this. They love Andrew Wiley, but again, Wiley chases his coordinator to Washington, right?
I mean, half the coordinators, I believe that 16 teams have at least one new coordinator this year. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, and coordinators have the pressure of installing. So when you hire a coordinator, he's bringing his system with him, and he's trying to install, and he would love to have a guy at each level, a lineman, a linebacker, and a defensive back, if you're talking on the defense side of the ball, that's from his place, that can help lead the room with the players that got to learn this stuff in a limited amount of practice time. So I think that's why you see all that going on. And so, I still got my list of guys that are available. I think today is going to be a big day. Orlando's available. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's still available. James Bradbury's still out there. So Draymond just signed. I'm not a big believer in signing old guys like Levante David, although the guy can still play. Be careful about spending big money on guys over 30.
And that's been your method on this for a long time. Try to find those 26-year-old free agents and do what you can there. Pat, I've read a bunch of different rule proposals that they're trying to bring in. Is there anything that you've seen that you think has any steam?
Well, a couple things I know have no steam. That a wild card will get a home game to start the playoffs.
Right, that's not happening.
No, I think you're going to see the challenge. I think a lot of guys want to challenge, and we're getting more people wanting to challenge everything. I think the third quarterback is going to be back on the field. We all watched 4 quarterbacks, go through, and then all of a sudden you're running single wing plays with running backs getting a snap. So those kind of things. Here's how I describe the NFL. They don't put up a stop sign at an intersection until there's an accident. Then they put up a red light. So I think we saw the things that happened during the season and the proposals based on those accidents at the intersections that are probably going to clean up the rules once again. We do a bad job of anticipating things. We wait for a disaster, then we try to repair it with a rule.
I think we had 70 quarterbacks start games last season in the NFL. We had 3 backup quarterback signings yesterday. Mike White, $8 million a year for 2 years with the Dolphins. Jameis returned to New Orleans, which we're shocked about considering how Dennis Allen was allergic to playing him, and he re-signed there 1 year, $8 million. And Jarrett Stidham goes to Denver, 2 years, $10 million. Which of the backup quarterback signings do you like?
I like the effort. I'll say that first, because down in Miami, they know there's a real chance they're going to play without their starter. To your point about the 70, only 12, I said this on your air a month ago, only 12 starters played all 17 games. So if you're a personnel guy or a head coach, there's a very good chance we're going to have to play without our starter. 12 of 32 made it. So you know that. And if you don't spend the money early on a backup, you're going to get burned again and have no one behind your starter. So I don't know that I think these are the best backups. I just think that teams are recognizing the need. Now, you tell me, David, you're the GM in waiting all the time. If Stidham doesn't play, if they don't throw Carr out last year to finish the season and Stidham never gets on the field, so you can't see that he's pretty able to function, would he get the kind of money he just got?
No, and that's the funny thing. They throw Carr out, they play Stidham, and the thought was that they wanted to keep him, that they thought he had a chance. And instead, an hour and a half into free agency, he signs with an arch rival.
Yeah, who watched the game from a TV booth. Again, watch him and sign him. If that guy doesn't play, do you think Sean knows enough about him to give him that money? No.
No, he hasn't played in 3 years.
So you gotta think through some of the decisions you make during the season and leak out maybe the quality of a player or two. I think the best backups are still available. Minshew, Heineke, guys that are young that can come off the bench, have a little bit of brass to them, and know how to win a game or two.
And that all remains to be seen. A lot of players signed. Should be a big day today. Pat, Aaron Rodgers, is this done to the Jets in your estimation?
That ride at Space Mountain, it's going around again. He's been on for another day on Space Mountain over there. You're asking a very difficult question. Do I think he should? I think he's procrastinated long enough, and he should. But what are you going to do if you're a Jet fan or a Jet executive or a Jet coach if he backs out on you? He never came to visit. People think, what's the big deal with that? When you're Aaron Rodgers and you got all these quirky standards, I think coming to see the place, seeing if you'd like to live there, he never did it. So he's doing this on what? Does he really want to be a Jet, or does he really want to just make $60 million? They can't ask him to come to more practices because he won't do it. They can't ask him to take a pay cut. Why would he do that? He's in the driver's seat and he's letting the Jets know it.
I have to believe, though, that this is happening. I mean, I don't believe the Jets. I mean, because otherwise the GM and everybody deserves to lose their jobs. I mean, you don't let Carr end up in New Orleans if you have any doubt, right, that you're going to get him.
Well, he's not there yet. Carr's gone. Garoppolo's gone.
No, I know.
No. So they put their eggs in this basket. So here's the question to you, Mark. If he doesn't come at 3:00 today for some reason, he says, I'm not coming, where do they turn? Because when I asked Jim Miller that question, his answer was, ready? The young quarterback that used to play for Cleveland and finished up at the Rams.
That's exactly where I was going. Baker Mayfield. That's got to be your first choice if you don't get him.
And you ask me what the Jet fans are going to do if you tell them, we passed on everyone else, we got Baker.
And Pat, we've got 20 seconds, so we're going to have to call it a day. I think you go for the starter in Los Angeles, who reportedly the Rams are ready to move on from for salary cap reasons. I think you take Stafford off their hands if you're the Jets.
I don't think he can throw anymore. I'd be really careful medically about taking him on.
He's Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today show. We'll talk hoops next.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
See you, boys.
Remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill, the Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Oh, good.
Adam, I missed what it was I got called out for. What did I get called out for?
Oh, just you're the GM. I think he was just.
Oh, well, that's.
Calling Dusty?
Tell you what, KW, if I'm the Bears, I don't know if I want to get too cute here. It depends. How far am I trading down again? Is Tennessee at 11 or somebody trading up for a quarterback? And I don't want to lose out on a stud offensive lineman if I'm the Bears. There's a plug-and-play tackle. They could get the first offensive lineman in the draft at 9. On the Bears, I think I'd take it.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the third and final hour of Miller and Moulton in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice. The bonus hour awaits for those listening in the 239. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. He will garner serious consideration for National Coach of the Year. He helped lead the Owls of FAU to a Conference USA championship, a gaudy 31-3 record, their second ever appearance in the NCAA tournament. He is Dusty May. You can follow Dusty on Twitter at Coach Dusty May. Coach, it's David and Mark. Congratulations. Thanks for your time. How are you? Should we try
As
it
per
again?
our usual, the phones are not working. We have them on the line, but something didn't set up right, and Felipe's underneath the console trying to fix it again. Literally, when our board breaks, it's a whole reset. And, well, what else
I
is
thought that
new?
was a really nice
It
introduction.
was a great introduction.
I mean, because he is going to be a finalist for National Coach of the Year. I mean, it is just their second time in the NCAA tournament, the first in 21 years. And they left Conference USA going out a champion. I mean, the irony is this FAU Memphis thing, this is going to be a home and home beginning next year. They're both going to be in the American. That's who FAU's playing in the 8-9 first round game in Columbus, Ohio, late Friday night.
And Florida Atlantic is a 2-point dog in the game. You're getting a team with that record, and you get a couple of points.
And they've got a 7-game winning streak. Memphis was able to beat Houston without their best player to win the AAC over the weekend. They were in the tournament anyway. Just like FAU was in the tournament, even if they lost to UAB. Their seeding proved that.
Playing games tonight. We've talked a little about that as they get started on True TV.
That's right, baby. True TV. Find the number. You'll need it through the weekend. And then you can lose it for the next 359 days.
It's really only, and you've got that so right. It's needed for just a short period of time.
We'll try it again with Dusty May. Follow him on Twitter at Coach Dusty May. Coach, it's David and Mark. Thanks for your time. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, we appreciate you making the time for us. Listen, you've been in the tournament before as an assistant. What is the most important thing you think you have to do to give your team the best chance to win between Selection Sunday and 9:30 Friday night? What can a coach do to a bunch of men who have never been in this position before?
We think our biggest challenge will be just the focus on the game and the preparation, which is what's got us to this point. There's so much other stuff going on, media, tickets, people coming out of the woodwork from elementary school or whatever the case. So there's just a lot more distractions with a game of this magnitude, especially in a program that's not used to being here. So today we've got to do. Yesterday was a light day, but today we've really got to lock in on the preparation and attack it with the same intensity and focus that we have for most of the season.
Like you guys, Memphis can score the basketball and they move at a pretty high pace. How do you slow this team down?
They shoot it quick. They're explosive. We have to take care of the basketball. Their numbers are a little bit skewed with their pace and tempo because they turn you over so frequently. And when they turn you over, they score within a couple seconds. So if we do not turn the basketball over and control tempo, and we want to play at a good pace, but just not give them the easy baskets, we'll have a real shot against Memphis.
When you joined us last time, it was like 9 games ago, and we asked, so what is the thing you're most concerned about going forward? And you said, basically, we need to show up defensively every night. If we show up defensively, I really like this team. And you suffered one setback, but it looks as if during most of this 7-game win streak, you guys went back to defending the way you did during that chunk of the season when you won 20 in a row.
Absolutely. We actually didn't shoot the ball very well in the conference tournament. I think we were maybe 10th out of the 11 teams that played in the conference tournament at shooting the 3-point shot. And that's a big part of our identity. So on the defensive side of the ball, we rebounded extremely well. And those are the reasons we were able to win the conference tournament in a couple of different, fashions. All 3 games were completely different. Fortunately, we were able to separate in the first game, but the next 2, we had to win on the defensive end.
Well, and it looks like when you play defense against Memphis, they do get shots off quickly, but you already talked about they steal the ball and they're very good defensively, but they don't turn it over. So it seems like when you have them, you've really got to keep that defensive focus intact for the entire shot clock over and over again.
Yeah, they're very experienced. They have guys that are 25, 26 years old in the starting lineup, and their 2 main guys, Kendrick Davis and DeAndre Williams. Those are the 2 that have the most experience. They have the ball in their hands, and they're both capable for going for about 35 each on a given night. There's been some games where they've combined for 60 to 70 points recently together. So it's a heck of a 1-2 punch. Fortunately, we have a lot of different guards and bodies we can throw at them. Obviously, Williams' size concerns us as he's going to be going against a guy that he probably has 6 to 8 inches on. But we faced that all year, and we've been able to overcome it with sheer determination. So hopefully we can do that again Friday night.
I know teams can change year to year, and we're talking to Dusty May, the men's coach at FAU. They're in the tournament for the first time in 21 years. Conference USA champions 31-3, a 9 seed, taking on 8-seeded Memphis in Columbus, Ohio, late Friday night. But as we mentioned, this is your guys' first trip. This is Memphis's second in a row. Is that an advantage, or with all the hoops that all these kids have played their whole life, is tournament experience something that was a bigger deal maybe when you were a player, but isn't to today's kids?
I think so. And even our first year, we went to the tournament at Florida with Coach White. It was such a big story about the first time he and the staff had coached in the tournament together. And we felt like it was just another basketball game. As far as our guys, I think some teams you would be concerned that this moment might be too big, or they would have trouble adjusting. Our guys, I don't think there's a moment that is too big. They enjoy competing. They love the process, the work that goes into it. So I don't think they'll be rattled. I don't think they'll be shook in the moment because they're such a competitive group.
All that being said, how important is it to get off to a good start, though? I mean, you don't want to get yourself behind the 8 ball and have the moment be too big. Is starting strong, that is it bigger in a game like this?
Well, probably just getting off to a great start would give us confidence against Memphis, but we just have to eliminate those turnovers that give them the energizing dunks and the energizing transition baskets. So if we're a little bit shaky early against the pressure, then it only feeds it. So I think just the fact if we get off to a good start with the way we're playing and not necessarily the score, because usually the numbers and percentages balance themselves out. So even more than the score, if we value the ball and we play with great composure and poise, then I think then we will settle in. Because even against UAB, we didn't get off to a great start, and usually before the half is when we're able to separate a little bit.
Coach, I know there's nothing you could do about it, but now that all is said and done, you got a 9 seed. I think you were the 3rd highest seeded non-Power 6 school. It certainly appeared as if by chance you had gotten knocked off in the Conference USA tournament that you were going to get an at-large. Do you think that the committee treated FAU, all things considered, pretty well?
Well, I think the committee, I don't think they realize, I've heard some comments that we needed to seek more quad 1 and quad 2 opportunities, and I don't think they realize the difficulty outside of the Power 5 of getting those opportunities are. And number 2, we scheduled several teams that were projected as mid-major conference champions and low-major conference champions to try to boost our metrics. Unfortunately, Eastern Michigan, they were supposed to have their best team ever with Amani Bates, coincidentally from Memphis, joining them, former number 1 player in the country. Northern Kentucky won their league. Bryant was picked to win their league. So we try to be aggressive in our scheduling. And even University of Detroit Mercy, with all the talent, and Antoine Davis, they were projected to have their best team in a long time. So we went out and identified the best mids and lows that we could find because the high majors wouldn't play us. So our metrics ended up being very solid, sound. I do think we were underseeded, but I also think Memphis was underseeded. So, that's not something we can control or we're gonna worry about or focus on. But we're playing a very good basketball team that I think Memphis is a very, very good 8 seed that probably should have been higher as well.
Coach, you won 31 games, so I expect all those Power 5 schools to be returning your calls to play next year. If getting wins this year with stuff, boy, oh boy, it's going to be even harder going forward.
We might use our scheduling coach if you can get some things done.
Yeah, I wish people on the committee would realize how damn near impossible it is to get games when you're a quality mid-major, and none of the Power 6 will even return your calls to say no. Finally,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I say we expect them not to play us at home and homes, but it's almost impossible now to even get a money game where they pay you to go just for one game at their place.
Right. I mean, I wish the committee realized that just getting the games on the schedule is damn near impossible now, never mind winning them. Finally, Coach, did you have 18 or so hours in between the conference championship win and Selection Sunday to just take it all in, the 5-year journey? Obviously you'd put in a long time as an assistant. Did you have some time to let this sink in?
No, to be honest, we played that night, Saturday night later, and the celebrations take forever, and the media and press conference take forever. And then literally before we were even done in the locker room, my wife texted and said, "What do you want to do to celebrate?" I said, "I want to go to sleep." So you get back to the hotel, get a quick bite to eat. You've got a 5 a.m. departure from the airport. So we flew back. We watched the film on the plane, get back, and I was going to try to grab a nap before the selection show, and they said the Today Show wants to have you and Mike Forrest on. So obviously that's not something you can turn down. So we did that, went to selection show, and then immediately started prepping for Memphis. So we've had no time to really take a deep breath, but I'm sure after the season we'll get the players and staff for dinner, and we'll all just kind of tell stories and reflect. But right now, when you're in the eye of the storm, it's on to the next thing.
Well, congratulations on a historic season, and safe travels, and play well Friday night. Best of luck.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Dusty May, head coach at FAU, in his 5th year. They've won more games every year, and then the big breakthrough this year.
31-3.
Yeah. Had a 20-game winning streak. They were unbeaten at home.
And you're getting them +2 in their first game against Memphis. Miller and Moulton. Jim Larranaga, head coach of the Miami Hurricanes, will join us in 25 minutes right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Is it O'Meara? Felipe?
He's just left the room. Felipe, is it O'Meara that's hurt for the Canes? Is that said right? O-M-I-E-R?
Nor Chad O'Meara.
O'Meara.
Logic Man a little bit, yeah. I think I'm on the downside of it today. And Felipe, the good thing is that Larranaga has to be out by 8:32, and I let them know, well, the segment only goes till 31. So
Perfect.
yeah. Well, RCB, and that's with them not bringing Levante David back, though.
Coach L's on hold.
And they also haven't signed like Baker Mayfield or somebody like that. So they may have more work to do here.
There you go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour, and it's a pleasure to welcome back to the show Jim Larranaga, the men's coach at Miami. You can follow him on Twitter at Canes Coach L. Canes Coach L. Coach, it's David and Mark. Thanks for making time for us. How are you?
I'm doing good. Excited about our first round matchup with Drake on Friday night.
What is it about Drake that, when you went into the film says, all right, we've got to stop this?
Well, there are a lot of things. First of all, they're a very skilled team. They shoot the three extremely well and have a bunch of guys that can do it. Their whole starting lineup, except for their big guy, really shoots the three, and they got guys coming in off the bench who can shoot it. So our first priority is going to be to try to make them miss the three-point shot as often as possible.
They're also experienced, and which they got a lot of fourth and fifth year guys. This group went to the tournament 2 years ago, won a game, and they added the coach's son to that team. I mean, Coach, we thought if you were going to get a 5 seed, you were going to get just a tough draw. It was going to be either Drake or Oral Roberts, we thought. And I got to admit, for a regular season ACC champion, we thought this was going to be a tough draw.
Oh, no question. But I think every team in the NCAA tournament is very good. They've earned their way into the tournament either by winning their conference tournament or receiving an at-large bid. And you've got to respect everybody who's in this tournament. And we certainly respect not only Drake, but the entire Missouri Valley Conference. It's a basketball league. They don't have football. And Drake has a veteran team, as you mentioned, and the coach's son is a fantastic player.
You guys offensively have been great all year with great guard play. A little banged up right now, but just tell us about the health of the team heading into the game this week.
Yeah, I think we're in good shape. The one guy, Norshad Omier, got hurt against Duke. He's rehabbing right now. We don't know if we'll have him available come Friday, but he's working hard to rehab it. And the other guys are ready. We had a good practice yesterday. We will leave tomorrow in the afternoon, get up to Albany, have a practice in the arena on Thursday, and then be ready to go on Friday.
have you scheduled the team snowball fight when you land? Albany's supposed to get like a foot of snow today. I mean, you could have a great snowball fight as soon as the charter flight lands.
Yeah. Yeah, it's snowing here in Miami too, so we'll be ready for it. It's like 80 degrees today.
We asked you a year ago, I believe it was before the Sweet 16 game. You've had a lot of tournament success with multiple schools. And we asked you, give yourself a little credit. Is there one thing that you do that you think, you know what, this has probably helped me? And you said, well, if I'm going to give myself credit, I hire great staffs. Can you elaborate just a little bit as to the difference that assistants make in terms of a team coming together and winning and a team not coming together?
Yeah, well, your coaching staff is a team. And the better you work together, the better they can help the players play well together. I've got a great staff right now. Bill Courtney is my associate head coach. I hired Coach Courtney when he was 26 years old. And I've known him for 26 years. And I brought him back to my staff 4 years ago. And he was instrumental in recruiting Charlie Moore, Jordan Miller, Norshad Omir, Nigel Pack. And how good are those players and how good have they been in our program? And that's all because Coach Courtney is one heck of an assistant coach, not just on the court in basketball, but in the recruiting arena. DJ Irving has come to my staff. He's in charge of the scout team. And I can't tell you how good a job he does in preparing our starters by having the scout team simulate the opponent. And then I added Cody Kimball, who worked for Ron Sanchez at UNC Charlotte, a team that plays the pack defense. And Cody Kimball's done a great job with our defense this year. So we have a great staff. I think assistant coaches are extremely valuable in implementing the coach's philosophy and style of play.
What is the style that you need against Drake? How does this team have to come out and start to ensure that you get a win on Friday?
Well, for us, we are normally very, very efficient on offense. As you mentioned, our guards are terrific. Nigel Pack, Isaiah Wong, Wooga Poplar can all really score the ball. Jordan Miller is just the most underrated player in the country. So at the offensive end, I feel very, very confident and comfortable we can put points on the board. Even without Norshad, we scored 78 against Duke. The challenge for us is at the defensive end of the floor. We're not that big, but, you know, Drake is not that big either. We actually match up pretty well with them. But the whole key is being able to defend their three-point shooting ability. And Robin Penn is absolutely a fantastic point guard. He's 25 years old, I understand, so he's got a heck of a lot of experience. He's got an experienced team around him. They have the leading three-point shooter in school history in Wilkins. They got the leading rebounder in school history in Sturts. So this is a very, very talented, experienced team, and it's going to be our defense that determines whether or not we advance.
Do you think pace is a big factor? Because Drake plays a lot of rock fights, and it's not that you guys can't win one, but they would be, I think, pretty comfortable in a 55-52 game. Is pace important?
Yeah, I always think the tempo of the game is really important. We always emphasize to our players to play with pace and space. So we'd like the game to get up and down so our guards really have the freedom to do what they do well. But we play against different styles of play in the ACC. When we play Virginia, that's normally a half-court game. When we play Clemson, also half-court. Pittsburgh, also half-court. But then when you play against Carolina, Duke, NC State, it's really up-tempo basketball. So we're pretty comfortable no matter what the pace is.
Coach, Thanks so much for making time for us. Congratulations on a terrific regular season. Safe travels, and hopefully we can talk to you next week.
That'd be great.
It means that Miami would be back in the Sweet 16. Remember, a year ago, they made it to the Elite Eight. Miami losing in the semis Friday night to Duke when their starting center, Norshad Omier, rolled his ankle a little over a minute into the game. He's a 14.10 rebound guy. Have to admit, does not sound like he's playing.
No.
It didn't sound like he was going to make it Friday night.
We'll see, but it'll be right up to game time.
Albany, the site, a 5-12 matchup against Drake, the Missouri Valley Conference champion. They beat Wichita State 2 years ago in the tournament in a play-in, and then got beat by a USC team that went to the Elite Eight.
Kane's just a 2.5-point favorite against Drake. And as
won
you heard Coach
27
Larranaga
games.
talk about, that is an experienced team.
And the team that won a tournament game 2 years ago did not have the coach's son, DeVries. It's close to the same team from 2 years ago, one of whom is DJ Wilkins, who's a Southwest Florida product. He went to the JUCO FSW in Southwest Florida. He's a 5th or 6th year guy with them. But, I mean, I think they're more dangerous, Mark, this time around than they were 2 years ago when they won a play-in game because of DeVries. That's a 19-point-a-game perimeter guy that I don't think they had 2 years ago.
I do think Miami's team speed, their guards are quick. I think they'll be able to defend. I think this is going to be a really good game.
I think the whistle's important because I think Drake's going to try to grab Miami. I think Miami needs the whistle. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us, Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Thank you, Mongo.
So now they'll only hit at 330.
What?
If the 20 yards comes off the ball, they're going to be hitting at 330.
Did they have their presser?
No, I'm just reading that they think it'll take 20 yards off the ball.
Okay.
Now, if that means 10 yards off the irons.
It's a club, right?
Yeah.
30 seconds.
Jets working to reach agreement with Alan Lazard. We're putting the band back together.
They sure are.
Ten seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only Florida Sports Network.
It's 22 minutes until the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Lee Sterling will join us tomorrow. I mean, got a full field tournament beginning on Thursday. Lee will give you some picks in our 7 o'clock hour tomorrow. Seth Everett will join us in our 8 o'clock hour tomorrow. A story we brought up in the first hour of the show today. Don't know how much play it'll get today. Day 2 of legal tampering in the NFL and officially 2 NCAA tournament games tonight. One a battle of the 16s and one a battle of the 11s. Pitt and Mississippi State, the one that most of you may have some interest in. Mississippi State a 2.5-point favorite. I'll take Pitt. Thank you very much. I have to admit, Mark, I may just take the points in this tournament. I may just do that.
For the first 4 days, I would. In the first 2 days, especially.
And I know that, the lines are small. There's a ton of games 4 points or less. It does not take much for the favorite to escape and yet cover. 2-3-point game, underdog misses, foul, 2 free throws. There you go. So, we all know how you can lose here, but I just expect a slew of close games like Miami. Listen, Drake concerns me more than Indiana would in the second round.
I'm with you 1,000%.
And I know Indiana's A game's tremendous. When they've played it, the 5-6 times this year that they've played it, you thought, damn, that's a top 10 team in the country. And then you also saw Indiana play about, 12 games this year in which you thought to yourself, well, hell, that team's going to be one and done.
And although I don't think they're they're not the meatheads of the Big Ten conference, I do think Big Ten teams will not benefit in the tournament by the style of basketball they play all year long when they actually start calling fouls in the tournament. And I think Indiana actually plays a style of game that's not as physical as the Michigan States and Penn States and teams like that. But I still think it affects them in the tournament.
But Miami just a 2-point favorite in the first round against Drake. And I'll bet you they'd be like no more than a 2-point dog against Indiana in a 4-5 matchup.
That's if Indiana wins.
Oh, come on now. Come on now. Mike Woodson's a good guy. I hope they at least – it's Kent State, right? The MAC champion?
Yes. Yeah. I understand, but I'm just telling you, like you were talking about the 15s, a 13 will win.
Yes, they will. They will.
A couple of 12s will win, and a 13 will win. I mean, Indiana's a 4.5-point favorite in that game.
I know. That's not a big number in a 4-13 game. I hear you. I mean, Charleston, Old Dominion, Drake. I mean, they're tremendous 12s. Isn't Colgate a 13?
Louisiana's a 13. They're getting 10.5 against Tennessee, who's without one of their best players.
Yeah, I have to admit, I would bet against Tennessee in every game. First off, it's Rick Barnes in the tournament. Okay, no coach has underachieved more in the tournament than Rick Barnes. I would definitely take the Raging Cajuns in the 10 there. And don't they get Duke in the second round, in theory, in a 4-5?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I love Duke. I think Duke has a much harder time in the first round with what? Oral Roberts?
Than they do with Tennessee.
Yeah, I think they'll beat Tennessee by double figures.
Connecticut's the other 4. They play Iona. They're a 9.5-point favorite.
Right.
And
And
then
let's face it, if Rick Pitino wasn't coaching Iona, nobody would give Iona much of a shot. They don't have a star player.
But Furman plays Virginia. Furman is the 8th highest scoring team in college basketball. They average 82 points a game.
Yeah, well, that's before you play Virginia.
I understand, but they shoot the 3 well enough that I think they can win that game. They keep chucking threes. You don't have to make that many of them to beat Virginia because they're offensively challenged.
Yes, they are.
And then Indiana and Kent State. Furman's just a 5.5-point dog in that game. Might be where I see some chaos, by the way.
I don't know if this is the year where we're just going to get a slew of upsets or we're just going to get a slew of close games, but the favorites find a way to get through most of them. But that's why I want to take the points. I literally think with a minute to go, 32 first-round games after we get through with the play-ins, with a minute to go, half of the first-round games will be in doubt. I think the first round will be that competitive. But I'm having a hard time. Now, granted, I've been under the weather, but usually I get a moment of inspiration. I do my research, and then it's like, okay, time to do the brackets. And I just sit down and do them. And I am scared to death. Scared to death.
My cousin sent me an email. He's running a pool. So I got in his pool right away. I just started hitting buttons. I don't like, this is an old guy in me. I don't like filling out my bracket on the phone or on a computer. I like to have the bracket in front of me, the whole thing. I don't want to just be looking at the East. I want to be looking at the entirety of the bracket, and I want to be writing team names down.
You know what the problem is there's a handful of teams in which you think, well, they're going to win a game. They're going to upset somebody. And then sure enough, they end up playing a team that you really like. Like, we're high on Miami. We think they're a sleeper Final Four team. I think, by the way, they're a matchup nightmare for Houston in the Sweet 16. If Miami gets to the Sweet 16, Houston, you've got a problem. Because Miami was just there last year. Miami can score. Okay. They'll have O'Meara back by then.
Well, if Iowa can win a road game, Houston may have a problem there too. I want to see Iowa win. I'd love to see Houston win the whole thing. I root for the little guy, and they're still a little guy by all intents and purposes. But they could have a hell of a road to the finals. Iowa can score. That's a problem for Houston. Miami can score. That's a problem from Houston.
Fran
and then
McCaffrey,
Texas is playing as well as anybody in the country right now.
Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fran McCaffrey reportedly wants the Notre Dame job. If you were Notre Dame, would you hire Fran McCaffrey? Fran McCaffrey is one of the 5 most ornery coaches we have left. We don't have a whole lot of ornery left in college basketball coaching. We really don't. I mean, even Bob Huggins is mellowed. I mean, we got Izzo. He's ornery. He's ornery. By the way, quick sidebar. When you're watching your buddy Izzo and your alma mater, and you like him and you care about that program, I see Boeheim. I do. I don't think he's aging well, and he's just getting grumpier every year.
I'm with you on the grumpier every year. The difference is, because I pay just this much attention, when you have an Ishba,
right,
who just bought the Phoenix Suns for what, $4 billion?
Yes.
And he's your largest benefactor,
right,
along with Snyder from Rocket Mortgage. Those two guys are funding Michigan State's program. Their recruiting class next year is unbelievable. The NIL money's coming in. So the only thing I would dispute is that he's getting better players than Boeheim.
Okay. I have to admit, because he doesn't seem to like a single one of his players for the last 3 years.
He's not the only one.
I was going to say, he just seems unhappy. But I digress. So
I wouldn't hire McCaffrey at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Although, man, that stare down with that official. That'd be great. They hired Fran McCaffrey at Notre Dame. That'd be like hiring Charlie Weiss to be your football coach at Notre Dame and inviting 60 Minutes to put a microphone on him and do a thing for 2 days in practice. And he walked around and said the F word for 2 days. And Notre Dame was shocked and appalled. Can't believe it. Really?
Apparently they never made a practice.
I was going to say. He's a Bill Parcells disciple. He's from Jersey. You're shocked he walked around for 2 days and cursed at everybody. With a 60 Minutes crew there? What, you thought he was going to behave? Hell, he was showing off.
What's amazing is that he can do a 3-hour radio show and not let 16 F-bombs go.
Well, they've narrowed it down to 2 hours because it's so bad. But yes, I'm with you. Miller and Moulton. But anyway, the coaching carousel is awesome. I mean, Pitino's already publicly lobbying for the St. John's job. Talked about how great the St. John's president was yesterday. Called him a rock star. While still at Iona.
It doesn't matter.
No. He can get the St. John's job. He doesn't have to move. Keep the Wingfoot membership. What, are you kidding me? Please. St. John's about as relevant as the Knicks. All right? You think you'll get some media attention? Just a little bit. Boeheim's gone from Syracuse. New York needs a college basketball team now? Oh, my goodness.
Boy, do they ever.
Hey, by the way, what do you do if you're Texas? Because the word is that Cal's had that job in a drawer for a month.
Right, and this guy might win you a natty.
I was going to say, and this guy just won you the Big 12 title, and he's a 2 seed. I mean, how much more does he have to do before you have to call Calipari up and go, John, I don't know what to tell you. We can't do this. I know you signed your end of the deal, but we didn't sign ours.
How can you say he doesn't deserve the job after the year that they've had?
I agree. Not only that, let's be brutally honest. It's basketball. I mean, they kind of care, but not really. And they get to hire this guy on the cheap, which is good because goodness knows how many coaches they're still paying off.
And that's just the football team.
Yeah, well, yeah. Speaking of which, Chris Beard's the new coach at Ole Miss. The SEC doesn't care. Bruce Pearl at Auburn.
Bruce Pearl.
Yeah.
Hugh Freeze. It doesn't matter, David.
It just means more, okay?
You're damn right it does.
It just means more.
They really don't care.
No, not at all. They said we did our due diligence. You know what the due diligence was? They look at his 1-loss record. Said this guy nearly won a national title at Texas Tech.
And it's basketball, after all. Who's going to write a story negatively about basketball? They don't even know we have a basketball team here at Ole Miss. Right. By the time they figured out that he did anything, we might be ranked in the top 10, and they'll be fine with it at that point.
So you got that whole part of the March Madness thing going on as well. I will say Damon Stoudemire getting the Georgia Tech job. That was a job we had Dusty May on at the beginning of this hour. That was a job that people kind of thought maybe that'd be a Dusty May hire. You know, if they didn't get Chris Beard, Dusty May's probably on the short list at Ole Miss too.
And as you said yesterday, earlier with those jobs getting filled, maybe May stays another year at FAU.
Well, I'm trying to think of the job that if you're Dusty May, you leave for. I mean, there's 36 jobs that have opened up so far this year. About 1 out of every 10 jobs, Mark, is going to open up this year in college basketball. There's roughly 360 Division I teams. There's been, I think, 32 openings already.
Although Dusty May sounds like the right name to coach at Notre Dame.
Interesting.
They had a Digger. Now they're going to have a Dusty.
Ooh, I like it.
Well, you know me. I'm all about alliteration.
Right. Well, Mike Bray, Dusty May.
Wouldn't be the worst hire for the Irish.
No, it would not.
So we'll see. Would love to see him stay at FAU another year. 31-3. That's a hell of a job.
Well, think about this. There was a time until he took him to the tournament where Dusty May would leave for the South Florida job, which is open. If you're Dusty May, you leave FAU for South Florida?
Hell no.
I mean, first off, you're joining their conference.
It's a lateral move now. Yes.
You're joining the American.
So I don't think that's in play. I mean, it's got to be you would think it'd be a Power 6 type job if he's going anywhere.
Right. And I don't know that there's one that's going to fit him. There will be next year, though.
Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. Lake City, St. Pete, Tampa, Port Charlotte. We'll do it again tomorrow morning. The bonus hour in the 239 is next.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You got to go get a suit. You've got something going on after. Spring break is next week. We're going up to Connecticut. You're going to see your school. You're going to see the team play. We'll go get some pizza. You got different. You just got to make it through 5 weeks.
Oh, man. That's awful.
It blows. Anyhow, my daughter's still got 2 years there, but she could care less. I don't know. And she's got to make a decision Friday whether she stays in that IB program or not. But how are you, your wife, and your son?
She's nuts. I mean, just busy with work and just, I mean, the stress of that job is, I don't think people realize what vets go through every day.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
But so she's doing great, but
Vets,
she's just
kids,
stressed
and
out.
religion, people put a lot of passion into.
Yeah. And, but the daughter's doing great. We've got softball, gymnastics, and soccer all going on.
And you're doing travel softball?
Well, travel soccer, kind of, sort of. We played the rec league, and this coach who's amazing.
Yeah.
He said, we'll keep practicing. So every Saturday morning, the girls practice.
Yeah.
Then he got us in a tournament in Cape Coral. Now we're scrimmaging a team from Naples over spring break. He does all this on his own.
Great.
And my daughter's clearly the worst one on the team.
Yep.
But she's the youngest also. She's the littlest. She's gotten way better.
Right.
She's gotten so much better.
You're lucky. That's so lucky. Then
It's the best youth coach I've ever been around in my life.
That's
all of Jake's years, all of Maddie's years. I've never had a coach like this.
Wow.
And it's funny because he doesn't treat them like little girls, treats them like 14, 15-year-old girls. Because Maddie was getting picked on early on. They'd steal the ball and kick it away from her. And he doesn't care.
Yep.
He's like, let them figure it out.
Yep. Got to figure it out. That's great. That's great to them. So you're not really paying other than by the
Just a tournament.
Right. That's great. No monthly fee.
No monthly fee. He just loves it. He just loves soccer and we practice boys teams. We've practiced girls teams.
And is his kid on the team?
Yeah, and she's really good.
Okay. So that's good.
He loves it. And she's good. We got a set of twins that live by you. They're kind of over where you are. Set of twins that are just unreal. I mean, these girls are, and then we got another girl on the
old?
They're under all nines, U10s.
U10. Okay. 10-year.
Another girl whose dad played in the National Hockey League. She's a stud. It's like, it's pretty fun. I mean, I've had fun watching them play.
Stay there. Yeah, that's great. And then what else is she in?
Softball, which is all right.
Rec?
Yeah, that's rec. And gymnastics is where.
And where she play softball?
San Carlos.
San Carlos.
Right at the park. So everything's right here.
Good.
I mean, my longest drive's to Gymnastics World. That's like 10 minutes away.
Right. On 41.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's good talking.
I'm just running. You too, Shane. You too. Have a good one, man. Hang in there with your boy.
Adam, I think the only chance Billy comes back is he gets fired by the Bulls and a year goes by and there's no NBA interest. And then I think there's a chance he would finish in college. Oof.
$30 seconds. Ten seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday, in which technically the NCAA tournament gets underway tonight. True TV. Couple of 16s going at it a little after 6:30. Couple of 11s going at it. An ACC SEC showdown. Pitt and Mississippi State. That's got a bowl feel to it, doesn't it? Couple of 7 and 5 teams.
It really does. It screams Liberty Bowl.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I can go with that. You know, like I think the Sun Bowl is actually a little too good for that matchup. You know, maybe not. You know, but I mean, you know, Sun Bowl, you know, it's.
Well, Pitt's a Sun Bowl favorite. Don't kid yourself.
Oh, there's no doubt about it, Mark. There is no doubt about it. But, you know, the Sun Bowl is on CBS. I mean, that is a real network. So, you know, Pitt, Mississippi State is on True TV.
But like the Sun Bowl, CBS only gets one bowl game, so it is an outlier, so to speak. I've got to tell you what I've been looking at here for the last few hours. Felipe looks somewhere between, I'm going like 70s sitcom kid. He looks like the youngest kid on 8 is Enough, or the middle kid on 8 is Enough right now with all that hair. And he's got the sunglasses on because his eyes bother. He's got one eye that's bothering him. So you can't see his eyes. He thinks he's Jim McMahon back there wearing sunglasses with lights on. The room's completely dark. All you see is hair and sunglasses. He's got a dark T-shirt on. And he looks like a cross between the middle kid on a 70s sitcom and an axe murderer right now. I'm just trying to figure out which one he is.
An axe murderer.
Yes.
Would not look this cool.
Well, that's going with you look cool right now.
I'm just kidding. I look terrible right now.
You look something. Fight through it, kid. Fight through it.
Apparently he's got an eye infection. He needs an antibiotic. After the show, he needs to go to a clinic. He needs drugs.
I need some eye drops.
You need drugs. If you have an infection, you need drugs. Trust me. Any place in your body, if you have an infection, you need drugs. That's how it works.
All right, Dr. Moulton.
Hey, 57 years old. I've had a few infections. You know what you know what I needed every time? Drugs.
Drugs.
Not Visine. Drugs.
Drugs.
Just saying.
That's drugs with a K.
Well played. Well played.
It looks like the Jets are doing a little bit more work. They're going to sign Alan Lazard.
Wow, that's interesting. That almost sounds like they're putting the Packers band back together.
Yep, sure does.
Huh. You know what would go really well with that? Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers.
Right. Listen, Trey Wingo reported around dinner time yesterday. He said, folks, this deal's done. Okay? It's done. Why it hasn't been announced yet, I don't know. But the deal is done. So then, you know, all the, you know, the Schefters of the world and the NFL Network guys were like, well, no. It's not done yet. And Trey Wingo's like, it's done. Trust me. And Trey Wingo's still, you know, a member of the football media, ProFootballNetwork.com, and does a few things. Still connected. Actually pretty popular with a large contingency of players and what have you. Especially since he lives in Hawaii. So, you know, he spends time with these guys when they're vacationing. I mean, he spends times with them when they're vacationing, when they're mistresses. You know, that's how laid back he gets to hang with them. They're not even with the wife and kids.
And because he's not a breaking news guy, when he breaks news, all the breaking news guys freak out.
Yes. It's like when Jay Glazer says, you got to trust me, this is done. Jay Glazer's like, yeah, I don't report anything that's not true. My sources, by the way, are the horse's mouth. I mean, just so you know. I'm not relying on a trainer. You know, I mean, Jay Glazer will know everything that's going on with the Denver Broncos. Him and Sean Payton are tight. If Jay Glazer in the next 3 years says something about the Denver Broncos, he is getting it from Sean Payton. Just like Adam Schefter used to be the source on the Denver Broncos. Why? Him and Elway are tight.
And I think there are a few, I'm convinced that there are a lot of people that the sources get it from the horse's mouth and then pass it on to Schefter because they don't want to be the breaking news guys.
Totally. And Mark, you know who they become? League sources. League sources. Well, I've heard from league sources that Javon Hargrave is going to sign with the Niners.
Which, by the way, their defense took a hit yesterday and will take not their defense. I'm sorry. The Eagles defense took a hit yesterday and will take several more today.
Well, this is fascinating. They had Bradbury and Slay at corner. They have let Slay go find a trade because his cap hit for this year is apparently 26. And they're like, hey, if you can find a trade, let us know. We'll trade you. And Bradbury's a free agent, and the thought is the Eagles aren't going to pay the piper. So you go to the fact they lost 2 linebackers yesterday. Now, they did keep Brendan Graham, and Kelsey came back and said, I'm going to keep playing.
Which, that's fine. But, the defensive side of that team last year, with all of their depth, was what made them so terrific.
But also,
and they lost 3 defensive players yesterday, and they're set to lose a couple more today.
But remember, 7 or 8 of those guys were in the final years of contracts. I mean, that was a defense for hire. And it worked until the Super Bowl. It's funny how sometimes defense doesn't work against Mahomes.
Well, it worked. They just called a penalty that they didn't call the whole game.
Well, I mean, they still had given up 35 before that. I mean,
I understand.
I don't know if you could say it worked. I mean, they were still in the game, but it wasn't because of the defense. The Chiefs had the ball 4 times in the second half. How many times they score?
4.
That would be 4. But the NFC seemingly so wide open. The Bills with a bunch of quality free agent losses yesterday. I mean, you could argue their best young defensive player, Tremaine Edmonds, gone. I mean, they're going to lose that safety, didn't they? Did they already lose him, or are they about to lose him?
About to.
Poyer. I mean, this is the middle of their defense, man.
Poyer was
once again, this is what Diggs, and I know he's a diva wide receiver. I get it. So everybody discounts what the diva wide receiver says. You're not going to believe this. Sometimes the diva wide receiver is right. Ask a Vikings fan about Randy Moss running his mouth the last 3 years he was in Minnesota. Go back and look at what he said, and go back and look at how it played out. He was right. But people just didn't want to hear it from him.
Well, no. They don't ever want to hear a player on their team complain about the players on their team. Even if what they're saying is true.
All I know is that it looks as if the Bills are not getting better. In fact, it doesn't even look as if the Bills are going to be able to maintain status quo. That's a tough story to sell. We got whacked in the division round at home. And hell, we were lucky to get to the division round because if Miami had a competent quarterback, we might have lost that game. And then we get whacked in the division round. We seemingly are going backwards. AFC Championship game, close divisional loss, okay, noteworthy divisional loss. And now we're starting to lose, and we're losing our young guys too, by the way. They're not losing their 33, 34-year-old guys. They're losing their 26, 27-year-old guys. I mean, are we sure the Dolphins and the Jets aren't catching up?
Oh, I'm not sure. You asked me yesterday, I would still take the Bills, but I'm not even going, you said Bills with the field, and it took me a while to get an answer out, and I think at best it's a 55, 60% chance.
When Aaron Rodgers signs with the Jets, And the Dolphins, who, Mark, a year ago at this time, when the draft was over, we all said the Bills had the best roster in the league, right?
Right.
I mean, the Bills were the preseason favorite for a reason. They had the best roster in the league. Anybody think the Bills are going to have the best roster in the AFC when this year's draft is done?
If Rodgers is just with the Jets, they don't have the best quarterback in the division anymore. I mean, it was clear going into Josh Allen was clearly the best quarterback in the division. It wasn't close.
I'm not sure the Bills roster is better than Miami's. Now, I think there are holes in the Miami roster, and there are very few holes in the Buffalo roster. So, would I take Buffalo's 53 over Miami's 53? Yeah. And the quarterback, yes, I would. But let me tell you, top 12 players, both rosters, I
If
might
we
take
started
Miami.
picking teams, it would be interesting how that would go, if you know what I mean. If we just put them up there and out of the top 12, how many would be Bills? How many would be Dolphins?
Right. So, and I love the fact that the two Eastern divisions play each other this year. So you had the NFC East, in which the last place team went 8-8-1. And you have the AFC East, in which technically the Jets were the last place team at 7-10, having lost their last 6 games. But they're going to add Aaron Rodgers, so they're not the last place team anymore, which means New England now becomes the last place team, and they lost their last game of the year to miss the playoffs and finish 8-9.
You know who else?
Not only are they going to beat each other up, they're then going to beat cross divisions up.
You know who else is going to like that a lot? Fox, CBS. I think they'll go for those crossover games.
Well, I have to admit, I was worried we were going to get nothing but NFC and AFC West games last year for Monday Night Football. I'm kind of hoping to get an East Coast schedule. Haven't had one of those in a while. And by a while, I mean ever.
Miller and Moulton. The text line's open at 21,000. The bonus hour continues. Good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when what's on tap, all still ahead. If you missed any part of the show, and today was a good one, go to Florida Sports Network to download anything you missed or your usual places for your podcast downloads. Thanks for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Michigan State women's job just opened up.
Really?
She stepped down. Health reasons. She's been there forever. Susie Merchant's her name.
Oh,
I know.
that could be the one.
I hope so.
Well, because it's long time.
Yes,
15 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
It's an adjunct professor there.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. So we brought this up 3 hours ago. We're guessing most of you were not listening at that point in time. If you were, hey, thanks for listening. We appreciate it. But I hope that you'll respect why it is we're bringing it up again. So the USGA and the RNA are going to make an announcement today. I don't believe they've made it yet. Have they?
No, not to my knowledge. And I've been looking pretty hard.
In which reportedly they're going to do two things. One, they're going to roll back the golf ball. They're going to say to the golf ball manufacturers, when we test everything out and you know the measurements that we use and what have you, ball can't go further than this. And I know right now the ball currently goes here. Well, I don't know what to tell you. You're going to have to make it so that the ball now can only go to there. So let's just stay with this one for a moment. Will it affect the big hitters? What? Hitting a 9-iron in instead of a wedge, to a lot of holes? Not really. 330 off the tee instead of 340, 350. Instead of gap wedge, it's, I don't know, a different wedge or a knockdown 9. But how about, let's just say Jordan Spieth. Spieth's got to swing out of his shoes to hit it 300 yards. I mean, it really does. I mean, he's got to play it a little, play a drive where he gets roll, and he's got a hook drive, so he's got that forward spin on the ball and all that. I mean, to try to keep up with the big boys. So let's just say Spieth now is hitting it 15, 20 yards less off the tee. So now he's hitting it 290, say. Well, Mark, a lot of these par fours are 470, 480.
Right.
And so now he's got 180, 190, and the ball's not going to go as far. So now is a 470, 480 yard hole for the average tour player now, in terms of length. Did that just go from driver 8-iron, maybe driver 7? Is that now going to be driver 5? That's a very different ball game.
If they're taking 20 yards plus off the drive, and that's what they're talking about, I would think that just with clubhead speed and what have you would take 10, 15 off irons.
So think of it. So every hole in theory is going to play about 25 to 30 yards longer. Beginning next year, probably, for these tour pros. Well, that's 2 club lengths in the fairway, isn't it? I mean, 2 clubs.
What I wonder and what I hope for is that it brings some courses back into play for the major championships that they've had to avoid because the game's just outgrown the course.
What to me would be interesting is, in theory, wouldn't this lead to less birdies?
Yes, 100%.
So this would lead to more pars.
Which is not good for golf.
Well, that's my question.
Not good for viewing, not good for audience at events. They want to see birdies.
Well, that's my question. If the normal winning score now is, let's just, pick a number in the teens, 14, something like that. I mean, Scheffler won, what was it, 17? Second place was 12. The Honda, weren't they tied at 14 or 15?
Right.
Going to the playoff, something like that. So, basically you got to shoot 468s to win on the tour, right? So you're thinking going in every week, 468s will put you right there. So is the tour wanting more 10 under winning scores? I mean, don't you figure that's a shot a day? I mean, wouldn't 68s become 469s?
I'm just curious when they have this presser. I hope someone asks the questions, why now? What happened in the last year that all of a sudden you've come to this point where the technology has been going at a rate of speed that you haven't been able to get in touch with in over a decade, and today's the day we're going to do it?
Well, and obviously this is total speculation on my part. It's the USGA and the R&A. So what are their two premier events? Obviously, US Open and the Open Championship. Well, there are very few of those Open Championship courses that can hold up at all unless it's windy. They're so long now. And those courses, unless it rains, can play so short. I mean, Mark, look at what they did to St. Andrews last year.
Right. I mean, it's a pitch and putt for them.
And I just wonder because the USGA has settled pretty much on a rotation of courses. Take a look. They've mapped out the next 30 U.S. Opens. And they're basically going to Oakmont and Shinnecock and Pebble. And we can pretty much go down the line every 8-9 years
and
where it is
Pinehurst.
they're going.
Right.
And the only thing those courses had to agree to is they also had to agree to take on a U.S. Women's Open. So Pinehurst and a few others are in the rotation. Olympic Club in San Francisco. We all know the courses. I don't know, the only quote-unquote U.S. Open course from the past, Mark, there's two of them that I think maybe can come back in the rotation. Marion, where Justin Rose won in 2013, and Baltusrol, which has pretty much been relegated to be a PGA destination now. I think the last U.S. Open at Baltusrol was a Lee Jansen win in the 90s. And otherwise, they've hosted a couple PGAs. But I wonder how much of this is R&A driven. Because outside of Carnoustie, Mark, those courses are getting destroyed.
Right. They're firm, they're fast, and the 300-yard drive can become three with the winds. Even with the winds, they're hitting the ball so long on some of these holes that it makes it nearly unfair.
And they don't like to go to Carnoustie, quite frankly. And they won't go to Turnberry because Trump owns it. So 2 of their 8 courses are pretty much out of the rotation. And think about what's happened in a few of the latest Open Championships. Stenson and Mickelson with that duel in 2016, where Phil shoots 65 on Sunday and gets beat. When Jack and Watson had the duel at Turnberry, take a look at their scores. They both shot 67s. Phil shot 65 on Sunday, and Stenson threw a 63 on the board. Remember what Cam did down the stretch last year at St. Andrews, in which didn't you have to get to like 20 under one last year?
I thought that was right.
Yeah.
That's what
and it's one thing if Tiger Woods posts a 19, 20 under. It's another thing when the rest of the golf world is posting it. Then I think the R&A and the USGA go, what the hell is going on here?
And you may be right. It might be more R&A driven because the U.S. Open has figured out their way to keep the score, for the most part, around even par. Yeah, there are exceptions to certain years, but then they just trick it up to a level of uncontrollable rough and unbelievable speed on greens. You can't do that across the pond. You don't have the ability.
Like last year, weren't they in Brookline? And it was a great Open, like 6 under 1, and everybody loved the course. They were like, we could play it here every year. And Brookline's not a long course either. But I just wonder how much of this is RNA driven, because take a look at some of the recent Open Championship scores.
That announcement coming later today. We'll find out if Aaron Rodgers makes an announcement later today as well. Someday, maybe. Miller and Moulton, the good, the bad, and the ugly, coming up next year on the Florida Sports Network.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. You know, just reading a quick article there, the NHL could back into all the rights to the NHL games. I mean, the ESPN could back into all the rights to the NHL games with this whole Bally Sports. They could just now do it in market for ESPN Plus too.
So
I thought they
Turner
were
doesn't
already
get
doing it.
anything?
What's that?
Turner doesn't get anything?
Well, it just says one of the plan they could move with because now they're already doing all the out of market games. It'd be an easy shift. That's all they're saying, that they're in the best position to be able to do it because they already have an actual plan there. That's ORAN's article that I just read quickly.
30 seconds.
Adam, Namath was the one that came out and said, if Aaron Rodgers wants to play for the Jets, I will hand him the 12. He can gladly wear it. So if Namath is giving it the blessing.
10 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Lee Sterling on the show tomorrow. We'll talk a little NCAA hoops and some point spreads and what have you. Seth Everett will join us tomorrow as well. We'll have more. That's just what we have lined up right now. Mark, I'm going to challenge what someone has typed in our Twitch chat room. Super Joe typed 17 minutes ago, nothing could be better than listening to Miller and Moulton on the beach in Mexico. And while we're thrilled.
Sounds delightful.
Yeah. How do you think that's going over on the beach in Mexico? People walking by, and they're hearing us.
Probably a large crowd is amassed, and they're all waiting for these next couple of fun bits we do on the show, David.
Right. That's probably what Joe told them. Go, guys, okay, if you love this golf talk, wait until they do.
Right.
The
Either
good,
that
bad,
or
and the
people are
ugly.
walking past him and kicking sand on him as we speak.
Exactly. But Joe, we appreciate it. Thank you.
One of my favorite things to do before I was, when I was just working for the hockey team and not doing talk radio, I used to go to the beach and listen to the draft on the radio. Back when the draft was
Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
And it started at like noon.
It was great.
Yes, it was. Well, let me tell you, if they move it to Thursday and Friday and put it in prime time, that'd be the dumbest thing they could ever do.
Dumb. That idea will never, ever work.
Never. It'll ruin the draft. What are they thinking?
It's another time when Miller and Moulton were wrong.
Yes, very much so. Adam wants to know, by the way, if Rodgers finally commits to going to the Jets, is he really going to wear Namath's number 12? And the only thing we can say, Adam, is Namath himself came out a month ago and said, if he wants it, I'll hand him the jersey personally. I saw a stat yesterday, which I did not realize. Do you know the Jets have had one 4,000-yard passer in franchise history? And it was Joe Namath in the 60s. Joe Namath still holds the single-season passing record for the Jets.
That seems impossible.
Thank you. And not only that, he threw for 4,007 yards. I mean, it's barely over 4,000. And think about where the game has gone and the whole deal. But also, it does help explain why it is that the Jets haven't necessarily been all that good these last 50 years. I mean, I think number 2 might have been Ken O'Brien. Threw for like 38 and change one year in the mid-'80s. I don't know if Richard Todd had a year. I don't know. Testaverde had a year in the late 90s that was like 36, 3,700. And there's one other Jets quarterback I'm missing here. But Joe Namath, 55 years ago, still holds the single-season passing record in Jets history.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Starting 1794 today, Eli Whitney patents the cotton gin machine, revolutionizing the cotton industry in the southern states. 1903, the first national bird reservation is established in Sebastian, Florida. 1954, Hank Aaron homers in his exhibition debut against the Red Sox. Today in 1958, the Recording Industry of America is created, and they certified their first gold record, Perry Como's single, Catch a Falling Star. Wilt sets a playoff record with 53 today in the Philadelphia Warriors win over Syracuse.
Casual, nothing.
Right, but that was a playoff record at the time, 53. 62, Gordie Howe becomes the second player in NHL history to score 500 career goals. Today in 72, the Cincinnati Royals announced they are moving their NBA franchise to Kansas City. In 78, the NFL permanently adds the seventh official, which was the side judge. Today in 2005, the 20th Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class included U2. In 06, Mike Wallace retired from 60 Minutes after 37 years. And 2 years ago, Beyonce breaks the record for most Grammys when she won her 28th Grammy. Those born today that are no longer with us, Albert Einstein, Lee Petty, Wes Unseld. Those that are celebrating birthdays today, Michael Caine and Quincy Jones are both 90. 90. Billy Crystal celebrating a birthday today. Kirby Puckett, Larry Johnson, Ron Dane, Steph Curry is 35 today. And Simone Biles is 26.
Well, Kirby obviously no longer with
us.
us.
Kirby no longer with us as well. I'm sorry. Wrong line. But Michael Caine and Quincy Jones, I saw this during the show today, looking on Twitter. Both born the same, found out, worked on a movie very later in life. Both found out they were born the same day, the same year, and an hour apart from one another.
Huh.
Yeah.
How about that?
I don't know where the Mel Allen has come into your brain, but it hasn't left for a month. And I'm being honest with you. I'd tell you if I hated it, I love it.
It's all because of McCarver's death. Okay. McCarver used to have that in his repertoire as well. And so it was prompted by McCarver's passing. And then that got us talking about, This Week in Baseball and some other broadcasters. And we mentioned Mel Allen. And so then it was, how about that? So between McCarver, which got us, reflecting, it stayed.
3 years ago, I was telling David that this time of the year always horrifies me because I was in the midst of an amazing sophomore year of college when I went home for what I thought was going to be a 2-week hiatus. It ended up being COVID. So look at where we are now and feel lucky.
My favorite memory from that was FGCU women won on Wednesday night. And that, I believe, was the Rudy Gobert night. And
right.
So it's all over Twitter. And, there's over 2,000 people in the crowd. I mean, that's another 30-plus win team. They're destroying people. They got their fan base. And they're going to play Liberty, I believe it was. Maybe North Alabama. One or the other. They were going to play Sunday afternoon in the conference championship game. Well, by Friday afternoon, Mark, the whole sports world had shut down. Remember, lunchtime the very next day, was it the Big East or the ACC tournament that got underway? They played a half.
It was the ACC tournament. Did they play a half or they didn't even play a game? They warmed up and never came back out. Florida State and...
Okay, maybe the Big East played a half and stopped.
I think you're right.
The ACC warmed up, and then that was it. And they awarded Florida State, because they were the 1 seed. They brought Leonard Hamilton and Florida State guys out, and they awarded them the ACC trophy. And that was it. So that was Thursday. So it's Friday late afternoon. The whole sports world is certainly shut down. Never mind the world. And I remember the ASUN women's final was still scheduled. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is going to be spectacular because this is going to be my big break. Because the women's final was an ESPN Plus broadcast. The men's final is an ESPN2 broadcast. They bring in their announcers. The women's final, they let the home team announcers do the game. And so I remember being on the phone with the ASUN commissioner, Ted Gumbart, and I'm texting Ken, the FGCU AD, at like 4 or 5 o'clock on Friday. And I'm like, is this game still happening? And Ken's like, absolutely. And then a press release goes out about tickets. Tickets still available.
Right.
And like 6 o'clock, I get a call from the ASUN commissioner, and he's like, yeah, we can't play. And I go, well, you better let Liberty and FGCU know, because I'm pretty sure it was Liberty, because they got their own plane. And Liberty had already said, if you're playing, we'll be there. And so the two teams wanted to play, and finally the conference pulled the plug. And I'm thinking to myself, Mark, well, don't laugh. This game's going to be on ESPN. They don't have anything else they can show. What is going on in the sports world at 3 o'clock on Sunday besides golf? And in fact, I think they shut that.
No, because they had shut
players.
the players. They shut that down already. Because the guys went off on Thursday and they shut it down by like noon on Thursday.
And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is going to be amazing. I may have to get a new suit.
Probably would have been worthy of a new suit.
Oh, it definitely would have been. You know, Rochester, big and tall. Oh, yeah. With the emphasis on big.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
My good's a little strange, but I love this story. Two good friends, one visiting the other, one's in New Zealand, one's in Australia. Pops in, says, surprise, I booked us a trip. We're going to Eastern Europe. Okay. Well, they thought they were going to Budapest because that's where he had planned to go. The problem was he mistakenly purchased tickets to Bucharest, which is in Romania. And the two ended up going on the trip. TikTok chronicled the whole trip to the wrong city, of which they made the most out of, showing anyone that you can still have a good time whether you're in Hungary or Romania, David.
Outstanding.
For the bad, we go to Cape Coral, where Bartholomew Weaver and Keith Zinkland are two stupid individuals. They stole a car in Cape Coral. They noticed the car was unlocked and running. They jumped in it and drove to a liquor store. Then they tried to sell the items inside the stolen vehicle, which included thousands of dollars of pool equipment. When the pawn shop that they went to after the liquor store would not buy the items, they just dumped all the pool equipment in the trash. They were later arrested with the car and apprehended for grand theft. Finally, the ugly, we go to Port Charlotte, where Kyle Davis was just out for a walk. And he thought maybe a rock ricocheted off of a car. He was shot in the neck by a paintball gun from a car that randomly passed by. Fortunately for him, he didn't get hit in the eye or the ear or anything bad. He's got a cut on his neck. But be on the lookout for random paintball shooters. I could just imagine that happened to Moulton.
I would not handle it well.
You'd still be chasing him.
Yep.
4-iron or 3-iron in tow.
No doubt about it.
Maybe even the zebra putter.
I chased after people who tried to rob me when I worked for Domino's. Wasn't my money, wasn't my pizza. Still wouldn't let them have either.
That's the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, March the 14th, 2023.
You did it for the rush, David.
I just took it personally. How dare you? I'm working hard for a living. Leave me alone. Besides, these people need this pizza. And if you cost me a free pizza because I don't get there in 30 minutes, so help me God, I'm going to come back and I'm going to find you. 8 NBA games. Magic in San Antonio. Heat are off tonight. Lakers and Pelicans both tied at 33 and 35 are facing one another. No Zion, no LeBron. I will say LeBron's boot is off. The thought is he might be back maybe next week sometime.
It might be better without him.
What?
Stop it.
Milwaukee's at Phoenix, by the way. 12 games in the NHL tonight. Lightning are at the Devils.
And the Lightning are not playing very good hockey right now.
No, they are not. And the Devils are. And the NCAA tournament gets underway. Southeast Missouri State, 4-point dog against Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Then the 9 o'clock game, Pitt, Mississippi State. The SEC team's a 2.5-point favorite. I'll take the points. Shaq Mason just got traded to the Texans. Bucks traded away a starting offensive lineman. They were going to cut him for cap reasons. So my guess is they didn't get much for him. But Shaq Mason to the Houston Texans.
And the 2 play-in games tonight. The 16 seeds, that starts at 6:40 on True TV. What do we got? A 4-point spread for Southeast Missouri State's the underdog.
4 and 2.5. Yep.
I'm with you. Take the points in both.
Yeah, I don't know about the 16s. Usually they get the 16s wrong, to be honest with you. Like, remember when FGCU played FDU? And I called you before the game, and I'm like, Mark, FDU doesn't have anybody over 6'5". FGCU's got 4 guys that are 6'8". I have no idea how they lose this game. And they won by like 30. And the spread was 2. So, I don't know. I'm going to stay away from the early one. I'll bet Pitt in the late one. Hey, let's do this thing tomorrow.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line